Oh, it says that we're sharing.
Oh yeah. Okay, good.
Okay.
Oh, you mean screen sharing or?
Yeah. Yeah, so I gotta pull up
Oh, okay. I thought we had it posted on there.
I should pull
We'll
it
have to
up.
do that next time.
There we go. And then the Google Drive. This was the Oh, wait. You know what? We're not hearing anything from that. Just one second.
Ah. Yeah, it's playing through the display and not through the board. There we go. See how that goes.
That's much better.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Now look at that though. Like, have you ever seen the sun behind a cloud? You know, like it's like blinding behind the cloud. It even looks like that looks like a sunset down there. There's nothing coming off of that. I mean, you're looking right at it.
So what I'm feeling, if I were to stretch and okay, full disclosure, professed idiot here. I know nothing about nothing. But if I were to try very hard to make some kind of sense out of this, like I was saying the last time, and I lean kind of hard on it, is the fires. We have so many fires right now compared to any time in history that I recall in my lifetime.
Wow, that's definitely there's been more fires in the past.
So it looks like starting from right about here, that's where we got the end of the haze of fire smoke.
Right, but what's the glow? Where's the glow coming from? That's the glow is coming from
the sun through fire smoke. That kind of like dissipated, but it's still like in the atmosphere, particulate,
Yeah, sure, but it wouldn't be. This is like a ventriloquist throw here. There's no light coming off of the sun, and then it's way off to the side. Look at how it's beaming from there. It looks like the sun is way far away, and that the sun is coming through a haze of smoke.
I am having a hard time with it.
Yeah,
I like it. I am having a hard time.
It's how dull it is looking at it. It's like you're staring right at it, like, yeah, I mean, it's hazy, but you can still see the sky there. It doesn't look like it's that hazy.
That kind of sun, the times I've seen that kind of sun is hot summer, early morning. Those are the like when it seems like it's like 6, 7 a.m. The sun just like shoots up in the sky for no reason at all.
Right.
And it's extra big. And then for some reason you could see it like that, like a good globe or disc. I love those mornings, but I've seen that as a natural phenomenon, but not the glow off to the side like that.
Yeah.
I have never seen that. I'll certainly try when I'm going over the Skyway Bridge to try to spot something that looks similar.
Similar, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not pulling up the video because I tried to film the sun recently, and it did nothing to my phone. I didn't see, like, it was nothing like this. It just looked normal.
Yeah, and probably was hard to, like, your phone's not even recording it because it's blinding it, right?
Yeah, and it just kind of looked like I was spying on neighbors. So what the fuck is that guy
Why
doing?
Does he keep pointing over at us as he's recording his phone and he looks very upset?
No, guys, I'm trying to film the sun.
Yeah.
Says
he's out there filming the sun right when I'm taking a shower.
Yeah, I get punched in the face and I deserve it. Yeah, so I need to find a wide open field where it doesn't look like I'm just standing in my backyard, like filming nothing at all.
It'd be nice to actually have a camera where you could, like, maybe run some filters through it or something, try just like taking some different pictures, a negative filter, infrared, all that kind of stuff, and just see if, like, because people have said that there's some setting on one of these, I don't know if it's the iPhone or the Samsung, but there's like an infrared setting. So like switches everything to like, so you can see hot spots and stuff. And then it shows you an object beside the sun, like in that setting. Yeah.
I was thinking more like of getting like welding glass and then putting that on the back of my phone. And
well, see, I thought of that too, but apparently it's that it's actually not visible in certain times. Like because it's got a certain light wave coming off of it that I guess probably is only becoming visible under certain kind of radiation exposures and stuff like that. That it becomes more visible to the naked eye and whatever, and goes away. So the idea from this has always been that it's some sort of object that's coming from behind the sun, and like towards us, kind of blocking, like possibly I guess going in the orbit too, right? Like it's spinning around.
Yeah, fucking Game of Thrones kind of clink, 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 going over the.
Yeah. Well, it's called the Nemesis, right? There's always been a theory.
Yeah.
Because apparently most star systems are binary star systems.
Yeah.
Right? Which means they have two suns. And so people always thought it was a rarity that was going on. Then they found out like, oh, it's actually like most of them are, and the rarity is a single one. Yeah. So people were like, oh, I guess we're just a single. And then it was like, well, wait, what if we are a binary? Where would that be? And then it turns out like, oh, it would have a giant elliptical orbit that like, they only meet up like once every 32,000 years or whatever. And then it turns out that like, oh, that's basically that Sumerian story. That's the exact same story.
Yeah, whether it's a sun or like that Planet X that's coming in.
Right. But if you look up that Planet X thing, NASA is conveniently got a story of like, oh yeah, we've got this Planet X that we've been looking for since also the 70s. They've been looking for this since the 70s. You can find articles in like National Geographic where they're like, Planet X, like it's out there somewhere. And they theorized it because I think there was like some sort of gravitational disturbance in like Neptune or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Uranus is on its side.
Something like that.
Like there's a lot of weird evidence in our solar system, but we just keep on proving that we know nothing about nothing.
Mm-hmm. I also heard that like at one point possibly Saturn was like another sun that like ended up dying.
Yeah, Saturn and Jupiter.
Right.
Yeah, it almost ignited, but it didn't quite ignite. So they're just like gas giants that are out there. Yeah, our asteroid belt. I love the evidence of that. Like, what the hell happened? A whole planet just fucking smashed apart.
Something happened, yeah.
And then ever so often, one planet gets a little close, the gravity kind of shifts, and then it sends some rocks our way.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
And then there's apparently the Oort cloud, if that's real.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like if that's real, then that basically means that interstellar travel is impossible.
Pretty much.
Because there's no way to get through that Oort cloud, especially at a high, speed of light volume, right? Because you'd be like going so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you'd have to go at the speed of light to get anywhere.
Yeah,
unless you had some kind of wormhole. And
the whole idea I think behind speed of light travel is like I think that basically any disruption, right, would cause you to just disintegrate or explode.
A grain of sand.
Well, I would think, right? Like, you go in a straight line in a frictionless environment, and then like eventually you got no idea what's going on in front of you, and like you end up hitting a pebble or something like that, and
it happens to the International Space Station all the time.
Does it?
Yeah,
I was wondering about that. I talked about that.
Oh yeah,
before
little holes.
Micro punctures,
and it's just from tiny things that up there they zip at incredible speeds.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of dead satellites that way.
Yeah,
well, a lot of garbage up there.
I would think that kind of stuff is just floating around, like causing chaos.
Yeah, can you imagine the amount of screws?
Yeah,
just loose screws and garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Or even from the International Space Station, there's going to be an amount of human waste.
Right. Yeah. They just spit that out. They must. I don't think they bring it back down with them. Yeah. It's just needless weight. right? You just like freeze it. I know, like they do in, I don't know, airplanes, I guess.
That was part of that Tom Hanks astronaut movie, right? Like they were all up in that capsule, and then one of them put the vacuum on to take a leak, and then it spit it out the side of the craft,
right?
Froze instantly, and then just floated in space.
Yeah.
So my space thing, actually, to bring up, I got to go back over
MySpace. Holy fuck!
How's
Tom doing?
I'm sure he's just fine. Did he make money off of that?
Oh my god, we should look up a documentary. There's got to be a documentary about whatever happened to Tom.
Yeah, I'm sure he's
just living it up on fucking island somewhere.
So this right here, the Pentagon Live guy, and this is centered around the military parade.
Okay.
The U.S. is holding a military parade just to kind of like flex. Like it's
sure.
I think
Trump talked about doing it in the first time he was president. He was like, we should have a military parade. It hasn't happened since like Reagan or something like that.
Yeah. So he's doing it for his birthday.
Wow. No way.
Yeah, for Trump's birthday. Like, holy fucking Kim Jong-un. Hey, for my birthday, let's have all the military might parade out in front of me. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's dictator shit, man. But anyways, this guy is talking about what we're gonna, like, the whole event of the military parade, and talking about U.S. military history. And there's a big record scratch moment in here. Okay. Okay.
What do you say about on the moon?
So, yeah, let's back that up to we have a U.S. soldier currently on the moon. What?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that like
it kind of slips it in there, hey?
Yeah, let's go back and yeah, no, I can't hear anything with that. That sounds misconstrued.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds like he's
there's
just
an astronaut on the moon.
There's an astronaut,
a soldier
right now.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a human walking around on the moon.
Who's a soldier?
I personally think it doesn't matter whether he's a soldier or not. It's just the fact that, like, that's big news.
Which means they've got a base there, probably, right? If there's one guy there,
why not tell us? That's fucked up.
Yeah, well, it goes back to all the times people have talked about the cover-ups, that they've had from pictures that they've taken on the moon from NASA.
Yeah,
like people have claimed, like, oh, like I worked on teams where we had to airbrush all these structures, and there's like towers all over the place, and like we had to airbrush them out.
Well, yeah, and we hear all of that now. There's that. What sounds more plausible? That we have somebody on the moon and didn't say anything about it, or that guy is just a fucking idiot? There's a high chance he's an idiot.
Well, maybe. I know there's that's the thing though. There's a lot of crazy people out there.
Yeah.
But a lot of them seem to be hanging out together.
Yeah. Like there's the people all around him right now going, yo, why did you say that? What? Don't we? No, like, you idiot. That was a joke. And he's like, oh. But now that's out there for people like you and I to like get all like point at the screen.
So Eisenhower, his granddaughter currently is doing the like podcast and radio circuit, and she has been a longtime advocate that there is a whole breakaway civilization that's already out in space, and like there's people already bases, like government U.S. bases on Mars where people are stationed. She said her father knew it, and
Whoa,
he
that
used
far
to
back.
yeah, like because it's aliens and stuff. So he's like, there's aliens like on Mars, and that's why we have a base on Mars. And he's like, we do all kinds of trade with them, and then like we're always stopping back on the planet, dropping stuff off, and then it's gone from there where they've like these aliens have like made treaties and stuff, and then changed the treaties. And she's claiming that there's this like, not only is there like all this kind of like exchange program stuff going on with aliens, but on Mars there's 2 types of aliens there that are warring, and then there's a US base that's got like 50,000 soldiers at it or something.
That sounds like Earth somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Mixer's recording everything.
Yeah, so we can still throw that on Spotify.
I just jumped right back in and it's working fine.
Oh, you jump back into a stream?
No, I jumped back into Riverside and it's showing no interruption.
Oh, that's interesting.
Man, technology.
Yeah. Well, also technically, I guess I should be able to like find out on my my own YouTube account.
Back in action. I feel like there was something else big that happened in this past week. I did see that Lou Elizondo sent a picture of what he thinks is like this supposed to be a real alien.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that just kind of fell dead pretty quick. Just because nobody trusts Lou anymore.
Okay.
Zondo fell in a favor. Well, we've been hearing it for so long, and we got nothing. We still got nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, hey?
Yeah. I had high hopes, but just as well, focus on the secret society thing, I guess, because that's still going goddamn strong. The world theater,
yeah,
the way that's going, and the Zionists.
Yeah, I bet you that's why there's 400,000 people listening to Alex Jones right now.
Yeah. I'm not listening, so I don't know what he's talking about. Probably something similar.
Oh my God, we'll have to look. We got to see what his schedule is, because like I think he might have been streaming last week. What if we're like streaming against Alex Jones here?
I don't think I want to win against him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I don't think you even have a chance. Like we looked, it was like it showed you like the list of people streaming right now, and it was like Alex Jones 400,000, Tim Pool, right? I think, and then he had 40,000, which is still pretty good. And then the next highest guy was less than 300. So you can see like who's monopolizing the screen time on X.
Yeah,
they got a lot of ways to go. I mean, yeah, there's some people watching, but like how many people are watching shit live on YouTube right now?
Yeah, and I would also argue, how long has Alex Jones been doing what he does? His whole life, right? Like he's
yeah.
I bet he can give low effort and still pull off a pretty good show.
Depends if he's Bill Hicks or not.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, I still want Bill Hicks to be alive. That's the only reason why I want to believe that.
I half got into that whole idea for a while, and like I was watching old videos, like like they had all these clips and stuff where people were like, look at this, they look exactly the same. And to be honest, there is some very weird stuff with Alex Jones and Bill Hicks, which is kind of strange. You know, like they have a producer, like someone who's like his Alex Jones's main producer. I forget the guy's name. Let's say his name is like Steve or something like that. All his early videos, it'd be like Alex Jones in front of a camera, you know, for the internet basically. And then he'd be like, Steve, come over here. We got to bring up this story here. And, you know, like every time he's talking with this guy and they're joking and whatever and all the behind the scenes stuff. Well, this guy, before he was working with Alex, he was doing the exact producer role for Bill Hicks. And there's all this footage of Bill Hicks talking with him. And, you know, he's like, hey, come over here. Let's, do this, you know, and like they kind of sound similar a little bit. But, you know, the idea has always been, and there's these clips, which I don't know if they're real or just kind of manipulated, but it's like, it's an early clip of Alex Jones for sure. But people say that it's an early clip of Bill Hicks doing an impression of a news guy. And apparently he used to do this impression, like that was part of his act, was he would do this impression of a news guy who was this like, you know, kind of like fucking hardcore kind of, you know, conspiracy guy basically. And and so that was kind of the idea behind it, right? That he created this character and then all of a sudden, you know, Alex Jones kind of came out, right? But if you go back and look at all his early stuff, he was like, there was definitely a younger guy that looks like Alex Jones, but his body physique and all that is completely different. So that was the idea, that people kind of think that this Alex Jones guy was around and then he got killed. And then they got Bill Hicks to like take over here somehow.
Yeah.
You know, like it works out when you think about it, but then you're like, okay, like there's a lot of weird shit for that to happen. Like, how do you fucking talk a comedian into like faking cancer and all that just to like work for the government somehow? And especially when you're a comedian who was like, you know, like basically kind of anti-government, right? Like
pretty hardcore, like.
Although, I mean, just because somebody like says a bunch of shit like, hey, even if you were like, hey, I hate the government, blah blah blah, you know, who knows how much of that is just an act, literally. I mean, that's what he does on stage, right? So he could have found that got a lot of draw and that was part of his act, but he didn't necessarily feel that way, right?
True enough. Like the story of Bill Hicks, he's been doing stand-up since he was like a boy.
Yeah,
he snuck out of his house to go to comedy clubs and lie to get on stage and do comedy, and then go to school the next day in high school.
So to like talk a guy to, you know, faking his death from that and then be like, here, you get to adopt this new persona where you don't ever get to be a famous comedian, but you can do some funny stuff, but we really need you to like mislead the public for us, you know?
Yeah.
Seems like a super long stretch. I've seen some Bill Hicks performances where he's sick of it. Right.
Like, hey, everybody, this is night 26 of my tour, so excuse me while I plow through another one. You know, like, yeah, I get it.
Oh, so you think maybe there could be some, like he was kind of done with the comedy thing?
That's where that conspiracy theory would hold up.
Okay.
Was that he was just done with the whole comedy thing.
Right.
He's done it to death. I'm fucking sick of it now. So he goes and becomes Alex Jones. And it's the same kind of thing, but kind of different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
because what's the motivation? That's the thing, you know, like, yeah, it could be done and I could see it, but like, why, you know, like what's he getting out of it? You know, like, oh, here you get to be this other person. There's no guarantee Alex Jones would ever be big. And he never, I don't think really has been huge, any huger than Bill Hicks, really.
Every comedian,
I mean, now he is for sure, but
every comedian is supposed to have like some kind of spirit of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
In that, like what they like is like the chaos, to laugh at it, you know, and to stir shit up. So I buy that from that angle.
Yeah. So also there's this early footage of Alex Jones and some of his people when they were just an internet show. And it's footage of them like at a, you know, like a FEMA camp or something like that. And they're like trying to interview people that are there. causing a typical ruckus and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And police show up and fucking escort them off the property or whatever. Well, they decide to leave the camera rolling and like get some secret footage, right? And so the cop goes, what's your name? Who are you with? And they're like, oh, we're with InfoWars. It's an internet TV show. And then he goes, oh, well, this here says you're with Fox Media. Your badge here says you're with Fox Media. And then the guy's like, oh, well, that's just our parent company. Like admitting that like basically this little internet fucking show was funded by like some giant media corporation. That's how they even got there in the first place. They had these media badges that got them in the gate.
Wow.
Right. And then they're like, oh, we're with this company so that they don't sully,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that.
And you can see the clip. It's in one of those like anti fucking Alex Jones documentaries. There's a few of them, like anti, I forget what they're called, but it's like fucking The Real Narc or something like that, and goes through all these like old clips and whatever. And there's this, there's this other interesting footage. I think we talked about it last time, but like there's a protest going on, I think in like Austin, Texas or something. And people are all like down like on the library steps, and they're holding their signs and they're chanting, and they've got a microphone and they're talking and they're giving a speech. And while they're giving the speech, in the background, like someone's filming this on their phone, and in the background, all of a sudden you hear this yelling on a bullhorn, and everyone turns around, and Alex Jones is marching down the street like just by himself with a fucking bullhorn, and he's like, we're not going to fall for this. The government's trying to take our constitutional rights. And he's like basically doing the kind of shit that he's always talked about, where it's like, an agent provocateur, where you got a peaceful protest. You can't have cops come in there and start telling you to move when you're not doing anything like besides protesting. So they get some angry guy in there who's yelling and you're holding up traffic and for getting in people's faces. And then they call the cops down here and they're like, all right, you guys are pissing people off. Get moving here, Yeah. And then it turns into a thing, right? And it was like a clear-cut case of that's what he was doing. Whether he was doing it on purpose or not, that's another question. But he was definitely fucking trying to disrupt their fucking trying to, but he definitely did disrupt their protest. And it was blatantly all, it was just him. He didn't have like a crew of people. It was just him fucking marching in there like a savage, as he's known for, right? Just loud and fucking, he's a character. He's such a character that it's almost strange. Like I remember watching him when I was a teenager and thinking like, I can't believe that this is a real fucking person, like he's a cartoon character.
And then just believed it.
Yeah. And that's where the acting thing could come in, right? Like, so that brings us to the other part of the trial that came up with the Sandy Hook stuff.
Yeah.
He had to go to trial, right? And in the deposition, his wife or something got called up there, and or maybe this was in relation to just him and his wife. He was also getting a divorce around that time because he was in the news for all that crazy shit. But anyways, regardless, his ex-wife told the court that he was just faking all this stuff. She's like, he plays a character named Alex Jones. And, that's his thing. And then he got up there and backed it all up. He was like, oh, I can't be, held accountable for that, such and such thing. Like I'm just playing a character, Alex Jones. I don't believe all this stuff I'm saying. I have to say it for my audience and whatever. Right. And then afterwards, people were saying, oh, well, he had to say that. Otherwise they were going to fucking nail him. Right. That was his way to sneak out and just lie to the court, get around it. But at the same time, is it, or is he just telling the truth that way and being like, here's, my legal way around it, I mean, if he was an agent provocateur, I'm sure he's got like all the best legal representation of people who are like, hey, if you ever get caught, this is the protocol.
Well, you're supposed to be sued into oblivion, billions of dollars. Like you think that he would be.
Yeah, he got sued for $1 billion, right? Yeah. Basically. Which
sued
is
him
like
until he died from it.
Insane amount of money to be sued for like just talking about the crazy shit from Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
Which, have you ever looked into that? All the weird shit from Sandy Hook?
I didn't.
There is like
I took it all at face value.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like whatever you don't want to look into, you're like, that's too weird, too crazy. There's it couldn't be any truth to it. And then you start looking into it and you're like, Jesus Christ, there might be more to this than I think, right?
Like some people are after him.
Well, so like what in the Sandy Hook?
Yeah. Like he didn't okay. So here's what I know. And I just left because it all kind of made sense to me. He throws spaghetti at the wall. Just says outrageous shit to whip people up.
Alex.
Yeah. Sandy Hook was one of those things. And it was like number 4 on a list of 10 to freak out about on that show. People paid attention and listened to him, and much like the January 6th riots, they listened to him. He's like, oh shit. Like, I thought it and I yell about it, but I also did a whole thing about frogs being gay.
Right, which he was true about, right?
True in a percentage, and he took that like small percentage and then blew it up, but at the same time, that's the entertainment of it. That's what we're paying for,
right?
That's what we're watching commercials for, going through that pain.
I don't know. I think I heard some biologists talking about it and saying that whole thing is actually a real thing, because they were like, I can't believe Alex Jones is no, like it's not just a small percent, like it's because the chemicals in the water, that keep getting put into our water, like more and more feminizing these frogs.
Yeah, and the chemicals that were put in the water, like I immediately imagine some factory with a pipe that goes into the river, right?
Right.
Which is pretty famous.
Yeah.
But it's more of our own urine from the medication we take.
Right.
So now what do you do about that? Like the water's cleaned and it goes through the water treatment plant before going back.
And how much? And what's it treated for?
You can't get rid of all of the like old ladies that need estrogen.
Yeah.
So, or old men that need testosterone or whatever chemical, antidepressant or opioid or whatever it is, out of a whole neighborhood. That's fucking up the frogs and fish. Yeah, I buy that. But I personally heard like they're fine. It does happen. It is happening, and it's a problem we got to take care of, but it's not a dire situation.
Right.
Alex kind of made it seem like he was the champion of the frogs.
Well, so anyways, the Sandy Hook thing though.
Yes, right.
I looked back at that because like he at first was saying like, oh, like I've never said anything about that. And I never really did hear him say too much about that. But then I went back and like tried to find clips of it, and because people were putting together clip packages, and like that's the only thing he's going to get busted for, right? Because he kept saying, I've never once said anything about that.
Yeah.
And then so they brought up some clips, and so the only things they could find him saying was one time where he had said about Sandy Hook, and he was like, oh well, I don't even know how much of that is true. He said, I'm questioning whether anyone even really died there now. And like, that's what he said in the thing. Like, looking at this, I'm questioning whether anyone even really died here, and then that's where the controversy came in, because I think the psyop here is from what I've kind of seen is that there was actually some sort of attack that went on, but it was somehow controlled, because a certain amount of people were involved, but at the same time, like I don't think like any of the victims have ever been like proven, like they show a picture of a girl and then they show her parents and they interview her parents, but like if anyone internet sleuths it, it's like they're not real people.
Yeah.
Like there's no record of this woman or the father and whatever. And they say, oh, well, that's because they're trying to keep their identities secret so that people stop harassing them, because so many people harass them all the time. Right.
Yeah.
That's the reasoning behind it. But,
I'm trying. Okay. So if it was a person or a group trying to take him out. I'm trying to picture like it could be just anybody, like anybody in the town.
So at the original time it was going on, there's news footage, and I think they even had 2 people that they were showing run away from a helicopter that were the suspects, and they're like, right now we've got 3 suspects or something like that, and they showed 2 people running into the forest. And then later there's video footage of like somebody saying like, oh yeah, like after we heard the shooting, this guy came running out of the forest. He was wearing camo pants and all this stuff, and he got arrested by the police. He's sitting right over there, and the lady's like got her camera and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, the man got arrested by the police. He's sitting in the front of that police car right over there, right? And then you like pause the footage and you're like, oh, why is he in the front of the police car?
Yeah.
Right? The guy with camo pants that came running out of the forest.
Yeah. Maybe it was a Rambo.
And then there's all the like, you have the recordings of the police as they're trying to hunt this down, and they're like, we got a vehicle over here, and they're like, oh, suspect was driving, this and that. And then you hear them like, oh, we've got this guy right now. We're tracking him on foot, chasing suspect B, and they've got this timeline of things, right?
Yeah.
Where they've got at least 3 people involved in this whole thing. And then at the end of it, and it even went on the news, they're like, oh, the police have 2 suspects right now. And then it just went away. Oh, well, that was incorrect reporting. We actually know that it was 1 gunman, John, whatever his name was. Fucking.
Yeah. I'm going to compile, get some videos together, and that's something I want to look into now. Like what's a good checklist of things to look into that would make it like to
we should look up one video right now that's probably like one. There's probably a good 3 videos that would like make you be like, okay, that is fucking weird. The first one is probably on YouTube. It's the father of one of the victims, and he's acting like the weirdest that you would ever expect anyone, especially after their child just died. This is supposed to be like, I think the same day, like hours after the killing or the next day. But what is it? Sandy Hook, Robbie. I think that should come up. Sandy Hook, Robbie. There we go. Yeah, that one. Okay, so this is before the press conference. Okay, so this is the father. So this guy on the right with the red tie. This is like right after his child just died, and he doesn't know the cameras are running. Almost, see, it's like he's getting ready for a performance.
So my name's Robbie Parker. My family.
Okay.
They didn't play the whole clip, unfortunately, but play it again. Go to the second one. Yeah, there you go. Okay, watch this. It's like they don't know that it's being recorded right now. But is this a grieving father?
Their sons and their daughters, and as a result, they spoke and made a statement. So we'll see if Robbie Parker, I assume he's going to come out to the microphones now and make a statement.
It's him in the red tie.
Like the family is there, and they're getting ready to to come to the microphone. So we'll listen.
Okay.
Ready to start? Okay.
Okay.
Now, wait, let him talk for a minute. Let him talk for a minute. Because you hear how he's just like, ready to start? And then just listen to his voice.
So my name's Robbie Parker. My family is one of the families that lost a child yesterday in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings here in Connecticut. I've been contacted by so many people and agencies wanting to know how we're doing, and I just thought that this might be the best way to share those feelings with everybody.
The fuck?
First of all, I'd really like to offer our deepest condolences to all the families who were directly affected by this shooting.
If you close your eyes, it sounds okay.
And we want everybody
but just watching him, does it not look like he's just a bad actor?
This includes the family of
like all these little okay, I'm gonna feel bad if he's got a thing, right?
What could his thing be? Involuntary smiling? You know, and
yeah,
it's not just him. So there's another video here. Pause this now because this is done. But like that's one of the things where you can see where he could lead people down a fucking rabbit hole, right? So there's another guy who was part of the story is that after the shooting, I don't know if there was kids on their way back to the school from a field trip, or somebody managed to get the kids out of the school as soon as the shooting happened. But regardless, there was a school bus of kids from Sandy Hook, and they were with their school bus driver, right? And they get this is the story here, is that this bus pulls up to this guy's house, and the lady stops, and he goes and talks to her because she seems distressed. She seemed very upset. And this guy, honestly, he's the absolute worst actor of all time. And he's definitely an actor because people researched it and found out he's actually a community actor. Oh. And so, anyways, the official story is that this bus pulls up. The lady looks distressed. He talks to her. For some reason, he talks her into taking all the kids out of the bus and bringing them into his house for safety. And then as they're in his house, he's like, I gave them some juice. And he's like, the kids started telling me, the man shot my teacher in the head and there was blood coming out. And, you know, he's like, they were so sad and I couldn't believe it. And then he's telling this whole story, right? It just doesn't make sense. You're like, what happened here? Also, he started telling the story originally. The first time he told it, there was like 2 people involved, or I think the driver of the bus was their teacher. And then later he's telling the story and it changes to a bus driver and that their teacher was shot in the head. And so he like kind of changed his story, right? But anyways, so he's telling this whole story to the news and everything. You're like, okay, this guy, you know, this is the story. But then you find out later that his house is like, if you look it up on Google Maps, his house is next door to a fire station. Oh. So you're like, why wouldn't the fucking bus driver take them to the fire station, right? Why did they stop at this neighbor's house and take all the kids into this random guy's house next door?
Yeah.
Right? Why didn't they pull into the fire station where they could, you know, definitely have some help, take the kids in there and then contact their parents or whatever they were doing, right? Calling the police and all that. Yeah. So anyways, that whole thing never made sense for people. So then as people started snooping it up, they find video footage of this guy, not only fucking, you know, different clips of him saying this, but there's footage of him practicing it. Someone's holding the camera and they're like, okay, you can hear in the background. They're like, a little more. And they're just kind of giving him a little hint. Yeah, that was good. And then he like tries it. And it's his whole speech from when he was like apparently just doing a live, oh, we've got somebody here who's live at the scene. Let's go to Rob here. And he tells this whole story. And he's like the worst actor. But, you know, just seeing the practice footage, it's like, oh, okay, here's him. And it's in his driveway and somebody's recording him. And he's like, oh, the bus pulled up and I didn't know what to think, you know, and he's just like practicing this fucking story. It's like insanity. So, you know, it's little things like that. They all add up and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like something is off. Right. So a lot of the story had been, or a lot of the theory had been that, you know, it was a fake, you know, no kids died. But then, you know, some people believe more likely is that some kids did die. But, you know, I don't know which way to go with it, because it's just like, if you see some of the, also the footage too, the guy who I was talking about there, somebody did like a fucking enhancement footage, like from a helicopter view the day of, well, all the ambulances and the cops were all there. Yeah. And someone zoomed in and was like looking at people in the footage, and they follow, and the fucking guy, the same guy from the interview, is there at the school, walking around in the parking lot, looking fucking confused, looking around. And he's got the exact same outfit on that he was wearing when he did the interview on TV. So it's like, why was he there? He never mentioned that in his fucking interview with, you know, CNN. You know? And then they're showing footage too of the kids. They're all being evacuated from the school while they never cut the footage from the helicopter. They just kept playing the footage and talking. The news people were talking. I think they were supposed to cut away, but you can see they're all coming out in a line with these kids. They're taking them through this whole fucking thing, and then they bring them through the front door. So it's like a giant line. It's making it look like there's this like people being evacuated, but at the same time, they're bringing people in to make it look like it's being like flooded with like people like trying to get survivors out and stuff. Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah. I'm gonna research a little. I'm gonna drill into it and see, because
I've got a really good documentary that we could watch. Maybe we'll play it on here, because then we can show clips from it and kind of go over the whole thing.
We'll go
break
over
it down, step by step.
What that whole situation has for it, that I think is why Alex would attack it. And what we're kind of dealing with today is we have socially some areas that we have put our hands up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you fucking dare go near that situation. So if you get a bunch of, like what I was kind of gathering from what you're saying, is send some kids to a house where they get an acting class. Okay, kids, you're all going to say this and you're never going to change your mind. Maybe he's got the Men in Black kind of flashy thing.
Yeah.
And then they all get on board, like, okay, I kind of buy that. The people that want to take down Alex Jones.
Yeah. Well, hey, also there's 2 separate pages that were put up the day, I think it was the day before, or possibly 3 days before, but as early as 1 day before.
Yeah.
Like a memorial page, just like in memoriam of all the shooting victims. And it's like Sheryl Crow, like, I will remember you, like a footage video, not of the kids, but just like fields and whatever. And it's like, it says to Sandy Hook victims, and it's like uploaded November. It's like on YouTube, November 10th, whatever. Well, the shooting happened on the 11th. So how did that video get up there a day before it happened? Right.
Yeah,
and people, whenever they interview someone, the technical experts always say it was just an error of the posting. But like, when have you ever seen that ever happen before?
Never.
That's never happened. And it happened on 2 separate platforms, one on Facebook and one on YouTube, where were memorial pages. One was like a dedication memorial page where people could comment on it. And that was set up on Facebook the day before. And then the YouTube one was like a day or 2 days before with this video.
Yeah.
So it's like someone had this whole campaign ready to go.
Yeah. Because if anybody got any sniffing anywhere close, you got parents that could turn it on where, how dare you, my child is dead.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, I mean, they came out of the woodworks too, right? But then like I said, all these internet sleuths were trying to track it down. And every time they follow it, they're like, okay, these people don't seem to exist.
Yeah.
It's like they're being hidden. And then that was like they've changed their names because they're getting so much harassment.
They were voters. Look here. They're on the list.
Try typing interview beside Sandy Hook there. And I just want to see if that random guy, I forget his name, because he was like such a famous fucking character for a while. He was like a meme basically. But if you just type interview behind it, then I bet you his name comes up. Interview. Go down, go down. It's like an old man with a beard. Oh, that's another guy, the coroner. Yeah. We'll have to go over that sometime. Oh, man. Yeah, that documentary, we'll have to watch it.
Yeah, they got a few things there.
But
they got some content to go. Oh, and then that's
Treadwell abuse murder trial. The defendant and victim.
Oh, Gene Hackman.
Oh, I'll have to watch that.
And then the
living
karate
conditions
guy.
revealed. Yeah, I forget the guy's name. Damn it.
Yeah.
Try interview old man. Try that. Interview old man. I feel like that might come up as a keyword or something. Old man. Sandy Hook. Old man. I don't know who the same guy came up, so it's funny that he's like showing up. He's tagged as old man. The guy who first came up. That guy, he's like in the first 2. I think that's him, the same guy. Jimmy Altman. No, that's not the guy I'm talking about. No, I just meant like he's it looks like the same guy in those two videos, right? Almost Jimmy Altman. I wish I fucking remember that guy's name because that would totally. If I typed in his name, it would definitely come. Oh, that's him.
Right there?
Yeah. This is the original story.
These were very staccato shots. They were very quick. Boom, boom, boom. And I thought, how obnoxious. Why would a hunter do that? But I didn't think much of it. I walked outside right there, and I looked down here.
I'm pretty sure this is the
actor.
Well, no, this is the footage that I was telling you about where they the guy was like coaxing him or something.
They were sitting there.
He was wearing that same jacket.
I had no idea why they were there. And I went down there, and there was a school bus driver, and she said, there's been an incident. And I said, well, just come in the house. And that's how it started. I brought him in the house. These are the stuffed animals they had. And one of the little girls said, this is my name. I think her name was Emma. And then over the next 30 minutes, I just described what happened.
So listen to this.
And these two boys kept saying, we can't go back to school. We can't go back to school. Our teacher's dead. Mrs. Soto, we don't have a teacher. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't take that in. I had no idea what had happened. A woman came to my house at 12 o'clock. Her face looked frozen in terror. I've never seen a face look like that. She said, is my boy here? I heard there were 6 kids here. And she said the name of the child. And I thought if she'd been to the Sandy Hook schools, she thought maybe a miracle from God would have the child at my house. You know, I looked at the casualty list at 6 o'clock.
You can hear them clicking photos in the background, you know, like talk about a photo op, right? But anyways, like I've seen a lot of people interviewed about stuff. Like, does that not sound like a fucking
well
and anyways, there is footage. There is footage of that guy like saying all that stuff with the like and then stopping. How's that? You know, and the guy's like a little more. Okay. You know, like you can hear him in the background, like he's not on mic, so you can't really hear him, but you can hear what he's saying, and it's like, oh yeah, a little more. You know, and the one said Miss Soto is dead. You know, and he's like doing the thing, right? Like it's like, and then so people looked into this guy, and he is an actor. He's like a local wannabe actor. He's done a bunch of stuff in their local community theater and stuff like that, right? Like he's got an agent. He's been trying to get gigs. Obviously, you could see if he was an actor, I don't think he's got any skills. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, I've got my big break. These guys are going to pay me like $20,000, 50, who knows what the thing was. And then, this is my big break. I'd really like to know if that guy's still alive. You know?
Yeah, that's a good question. What I'm hyper focused on right now is all the stuffed animals.
Where's that? What?
In the middle of his living room. He's like,
oh, yeah, I know. It's like he set them up for the photo, to show them, right? Oh, these are all the stuffed animals the kids were playing with. Like, I just have a room.
You just have them?
Yeah. And then you just left them there since then, just,
That's sus, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that.
Or I knew a news camera was coming, so I put them all back in the middle just to show you an example of what I did.
Or the kids just happened to have them that day, like because there was a shooting. Grab your stuffed animal and let's go. And then they're holding on to them in there, and they just left them behind.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll have to get into this maybe next week. Like full on, because like the documentary I have, I think is almost 3 hours long. Yeah. So, I mean, we could literally play a 5-minute clip and then talk about it for half an hour and then like go on to the next one and do that for like, a good 2 hours and then cover it over a couple weeks.
I can't get over it because like the room itself that the stuffed animals are in, like little creepy, but okay, whatever. Like it kind of fits his personality from what I've seen. But then the stuffed animals in the middle just really like made it turn. Like, okay, now that room is creepy. That's a creepy room.
Yeah, so I mean, it's that, you know, the dad, that whole situation, and then there's this coroner guy. So there's another interview with this coroner, which, you know, you point to, and then if you listen to it, it doesn't seem that off. But then, like, when you think about it, all the stuff this guy's saying, and you're like, you know, I mean, I've heard other interviews and stuff, like, you know, every once in a while some sort of incident goes on and you hear a coroner talk, right? But like, this is, once again, it seemed like it was like from a movie. You know, this guy comes out and he's like, this is probably the worst I've ever seen. You know, like, he's got all these lines. First of all, he doesn't look like a coroner. Like, he's got like a ponytail, and like, you know, he just looks like a character actor almost, you know what I mean? And then I'm pretty sure someone else pointed out that this guy was like, they played footage from another part like a couple months later of this sheriff, and like he was in the background or whatever, and he looked exactly like him, man. Like, he was supposed to be like, they were saying like he was like playing a sheriff in another scene, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I don't know if it was in the same documentary, but there was quite a lot of footage of one of the parents of one of the victims. Like, she's doing this interview and whatever. And then they show clips of the guy who shot that theater up. You remember the Batman guy?
Yeah, the Batman guy.
Yeah. So they go to his lawyer, who's doing, like, you know, because when he went to court, it was completely sealed off. You know, like, they only let one camera in there apparently, and that's how they were showing clips to the news. But there was no people allowed in there. It was only the lawyers and, you know, the security and the judge. Right. And then they had the camera, and you'd see clips. So anyway, someone's doing this side by side. We're like, here's this interview with the Sandy Hook parent. Here's the lawyer for this, you know, crazed shooter who's just vacant now. He looks like he's been drugged to fuck, right? Like, he's like, eyes are wide, and he doesn't like fucking say anything. And anyways, the lady is like exactly the same. She's talking in the mic and whatever. And then they play back and forth with the parent, and the exact same cadence and voice. Her hair is exactly the same, except, you know, and like, she's wearing a suit and stuff. And she's like talking to the judge and whatever. Yeah. It's like, it's very, very suspicious. You're like, fuck, like, what's going on?
Well, part of me, what makes it just kind of okay for me is I think that us humans got kind of stuck on actors in movies, and we just naturally act that way. I'm trying to play devil's advocate to all that weird behavior. Like, that's weird ass behavior, man.
To me, the weirdest part was the dad. I mean, I can just sometimes, like, you know, I've thought about like what a tragedy would happen, you know, of my family and stuff. And it, like, you know, I feel like I'm on the verge of breaking down just thinking about it sometimes. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even think about that. Like, or you hear a story about like a little kid who gets, you know, killed in some sort of accident, you know, like a rundown on the street or, you know, whatever. Right. And it's just like, you're just like, oh fuck, I'm ready to break down, you know, and like, I feel myself tearing up and whatever. Right. And like, fucking Buddy's like smiling away. And then he's like, are we ready? Okay. He starts taking some breaths.
Yeah.
Like, he's getting prepped for a scene. Right. And then he's like, yes, yesterday, you know, like huffing and puffing. Right.
Yeah.
Sus.
Very, very. 20, it said below 20 kids and 6 staff members.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a number. Like, that's not even a small number to fake.
Yeah. And then so another anomaly there was one of the shooter's mom. Apparently, like, when they're first interviewing people, this is like, I don't know, CNN, ABC, one of them, they're interviewing people, and they're like, we found out that the shooter's mother worked at the school as a nurse, And so that's possibly how the shooter got in, because they were wondering, everyone was like, how did this shooter get in? The whole school's on a special lockdown system, right? And like the only way in, they've got a camera on the front door. You have to buzz in and then they let you in. So the idea was, why is this kid here who possibly has all these guns? Oh, his mother's a nurse here. They buzz him in. He comes in and then he starts shooting the place up. And he already killed his mom. That was the whole thing. Like, he killed his mom, shows up there where she works, and then started shooting things up, right? Well, then as they do this thing, then later they come back and they drop that. Like, it turns out that his mother was not a nurse. That was an early mistake in reporting. But like, they're interviewing people. Like the ABC woman, she's interviewing. She's like, oh yeah, like his mother was a nurse. They said, there was no hint that he was like that. One lady said that he used to come in all the time and she thought he was a very nice boy. Like, they've got anecdotes of people they've talked to about it. And then Anderson Cooper or someone comes on and they're like, apparently there is no connection to the school. That was incorrect reporting as we were early getting it. And we'll let you know when we get more.
Yeah.
And then that became the narrative, was like, it was just a crazy lone shooter. No one knows how he got in there. No connection to the school. No one knows his motive, like he had some sort of manifesto maybe or something, right?
Yeah, they still don't know.
It becomes a narrative, right? Oh, fucking crazy guy, got guns. We need to clamp down, get guns out of the fucking, people's guns.
Now I want to know, like, what they were able to glean, what motive was. Because when it was back to Columbine days, they dissected the fuck out of that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, man. Those were interesting times, hey?
Yeah.
Fuck, I pitied anyone who wore a trench coat fucking during that time. I used to have so many goth friends and they were always getting in shit for stuff.
Yeah.
Right after. I think our school made it mandatory, like, you weren't allowed to wear a trench coat for like the first 2 years after that fucking happened. Pretty sure it was like you weren't allowed. It was like a dress code thing. No trench coats in school.
Yeah.
I remember one girl made a list and fucking the police got called just because someone found this list. It had names on it.
Oh yeah, that became pretty famous around that time.
Yeah. And then they interviewed her or whatever. She got all, in trouble for it. And she was like, it's a list of fucking people I'm pissed off at. Like, there's all these people that I really hate,
Yeah, but after that event, you couldn't have those.
Yeah, you couldn't have those. Like, you're not allowed to make lists, right? Like, sorry, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm going to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one step away from that. Yeah, and that's what they always saw it as. Then there was the kids that I'm going to fucking bomb the place. And just like say it out or write it out or just make it obvious.
Yeah.
Just because they want to be edgy or whatever's going on in their life. And we have to clear out the school and the dogs come in, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the works.
Yeah, Columbine changed all that.
Yeah. I mean, it became the archetype. It's interesting how, like, there basically was never anything like that, right? And then that came along and it was like the precipice. Like, all of a sudden, like, that unlocked the gates. That became a thing.
But there's lots of shootings before.
Yeah, but not school shootings.
Yeah,
there was never any. Only time there was that was it. I want to say Caltech or something, but it was like a famous school shooter who was like in a tower shooting at students or whatever. Right? Yeah. They made a movie about it. I think it happened in the 90s, maybe, or something like that. But
yeah,
that was the only time I could think of. Like.
I heard an interview with the guy from Kids in the Hall, Scott Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was a boy, there was a school shooting. And like when he was a boy, that was like 70s, maybe even 60s. I don't know how old he is, but that was in Canada.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So it happens. Like, people flip their lid. I think that was kind of the point of that Full Metal Jacket,
right? Yeah,
they pushed that guy to the point of shooting people in the bathroom at night. But it's always something happened with Columbine to make it the way it was, And then Sandy Hook kind of felt like, to me, we're so worn out from it happening in between.
Right.
And that we're not even going to look at it. We're not going to investigate it. It's just such a normal thing now that's just like, yeah, it is tragic, but I'm not even going to look into it the same like Columbine, because we've had so many since, and we're going to have so many more in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, now it's become, unfortunately, now it's like, oh, you don't even hear about them. You know, it's like, oh, like, what do you mean there was a school shooting last week? Like, I didn't hear about that. Oh, yeah. In Boston, there was a school shooting. Like 12 kids got killed. Like, what? I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
There's so much shit going on, and it's so commonplace. Like, there's school shooting every, probably a few a year now. Went from every like couple decades or something, an event like that would go on to like now it's like a fucking, you expect a few of them a year kind of thing, right?
Yeah. That's why I was surprised when I heard Alex Jones was angling from that. And when I first heard that, I was like, yeah, I guess like you got to plow new territory. Like, it's all been said. He might be like repeating things, and here, oh, Sandy Hook was fake. Like, okay, well, that's interesting. You're using your noggin, at least, like trying to come up with stuff.
He did drop that whole narrative though very fast. Like, he kind of went for it and then was like, oh, it kind of might be like the way they said it was, like he kind of dropped going on.
Yeah, but doing that kind of shit is like fertilizer for some desk jockeys that are just sitting at home mesmerized by what he's saying.
Yeah.
Was it, oh shit, wait, he's dropping that one? They got to him. So I need to attack that.
Did you hear about this like playground they apparently found? I don't know if it's real or not now. We're in this fucking AI bullshit. I can't tell what's real and what's not now. But I saw this thing. They found like an underwater playground with slides and everything that's like 10,000 years old. Yeah, type it in and see if it pops up. I know it will pop up, but I don't know if it's real. And I found it on a news story. That was how I originally heard about it. It was like, oh, crazy news story is going to rewrite history or something. And then it looked real, and it looked like the interviews were real. So I couldn't tell if it was. I was like, man, fuck, this AI is getting too good now. Okay, no, put ancient underwater playground. It's 10,000 years old, apparently. Let's hear a little clip. That's it right there.
Hello, Scary Talkers. For those of you who don't know me,
this isn't
I'm
it,
Scary
but...
Talk. I make AI content mainly, and usually it's about hell. Lately, I've been making different content for my TikTok page, and it's gone viral. It's satirical news that people seem to take.
How do they know it's 10,000?
Oh, there we go.
A lot of comments saying they researched its validity. Really? I wonder why not just open the channel you've seen the video on. You would see all my content is mainly AI. Anyway, here is the content if anyone is interested.
Okay.
Satire, not real.
In a stunning underwater discovery, marine archaeologists claim to have found a 10,000-year-old playground at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
200 miles off Hawaii's coast, a team from the Oceanic Exploration Institute has
uncovered
what they're calling a prehistoric playground, submerged 3,000 feet below the Pacific's surface.
We've identified smooth stone ramps, like slides and rings appear to be climbing structures.
She says ABC News, right? Isn't that a dude from ABC?
Sonar and a deep sea submersible. The team stumbled upon the site during a routine mapping mission. At the ocean floor, they found stone structures, slides, circular platforms, and carved seats, what appears to be a staircase straight from a science fiction novel, arranged in a pattern that suggests a play area dating back roughly 10,000 years to the end of the Ice Age.
Carbon dating of nearby coral and sediment.
Look at the guy's eyes.
8,000 BCE.
This find raises big questions.
He looked like he was
Who
fucking.
built this playground? How did kids play here so long ago?
Yo, if you want to see some like really crazy AI,
It's like too crisp. You know what I mean? Like look how they're like layered on each other,
Social
and
media is
you
alight
know,
with the hashtag
it's like you
Ocean
can
Playground
kind of
trending,
notice it.
as people marvel at this window into a lost world.
Popped up on my For You page today, but I can't find the news anywhere. They say that it was built in 8,000
I want to see this.
BCE, so about 10,000
Look
years
behind
ago.
him.
So that would
This
have
is
been
people like thinking
right
that it's real.
before the last ice age ended. And that's off the coast of Hawaii. But I cannot find this news anywhere. Anywhere. Not on TikTok, not anywhere else. Not on Google, anywhere. And I already sent this to my family, guys. Anyway, is it real?
Yep.
What do we think?
no. See, she doesn't know if it's real.
Yeah, well, see, we're in the event horizon here. You know, like we're at that point now. Unfortunately, now everything you fucking see, it doesn't matter what happens now. We're not going to be able to know what's real. Is this an AI Bigfoot fucking showing you how he like survived in Bigfoot vlogs unboxing?
Where was it?
Gets a new
Oh.
huzz.
I found a nice patch of these guys and some chanterelles over there too. I found a nice patch of these guys and some chanterelles over there too.
Oh, that's like way too short, but like
You can yeah, it's like you can still tell, right? Like the mushrooms disappeared.
Woke up hungry enough to eat a tree again.
see,
Always check your shrooms.
that's incredible.
You want breakfast, not a spirit quest. Fire first, food second. Nobody likes cold mushrooms.
Someone asked me how I got all that. Well, I bought tools and stuff with the official Bigfoot Vlogs coin, not the fake one, of course.
Forest chopping board. Michelin star? Nah. Moss star.
See, like
Smells like
but it has a lot of similarities to the other video, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The way the scientists were talking to each other.
But yeah, look at the perception on it's like a fisheye.
Pine tips. Don't tell Gordon. Earthy.
Like, my God.
Smoky. 5-star breakfast, 1-star hygiene.
If your day starts like this.
From Will Smith, like going all garbled, eating
with
spaghetti, to that. Like,
wow, look at there's lots of them. Hey, that's 18 or 19. Bigfoot Blog 5, how I built my first house.
Yeah,
so it just goes.
I wanted to find the one where he found a boat of cocaine.
How many people are watching these? 45,000. Not many.
Not too
100,
many.
120, 130. So he's like kind of anywhere from like 10 to 150. There's 600 on that one. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So they're kind of all over the place. It just kind of matters if it like just happens to hit that time, right?
What's up, internet? Just your average 8-foot snow monster out here risking frostbite for content. Day one.
Like how many subscribers is that?
No plan.
1.83. Is that like
Yeah,
183,000 or 1.1 million point 83?
To the guy that figured out how to do AI like that.
1.6.
Hope you're jealous.
No, that's got to be 100.
Don't worry, I'm saving the bones for
100,000.
later.
Yeah. So all the messing around I did with AI never came anywhere close to that.
Yeah. So how are people getting all this fucking stuff anyways? Like, you know, like I don't know where this is all coming from. All these people making AI. Like, where's the AI engine that they're using to make this?
Yo, I almost don't want to say this out loud, but I was utilizing AI for DJ set.
Okay.
Because one song has to not only have the same kind of speed or relatively close speed to the song that you're playing currently, you know, to crossfade in between the two.
Sure.
They got to be the same note, you know, the same key.
Sure.
And just what do DJs commonly play? And then I said, can you map out a set? And holy shit, man. Okay, phase 1 is your build up and this is the mood. It's like it was mapping out like a whole play or movie, you know, scripting it out.
I bet you're not the first person who typed that in, so it's learned, right? It's always learning.
Somebody put it down in a book somewhere.
Yeah.
And then it's but the instant.
Well, no, I just mean like, you know, people have typed that in, other people have typed that in. So it gives an answer, and then, you know, it's improving on its answer all the time. So this is probably like the, you know, 10,000th time it's answered that question, right? And then it learns from those answers that it gives itself.
Well, I'm asking things like, I'm playing this song. What's gonna, or like, or more specifically, I found 2 songs that go well together. So, okay, that's very good. Now I need a third one to kind of bridge it, maybe even a fourth, like on the other side. And I started from that, and I still have to test it out, but it kept on revising and like adding more and more songs.
Right.
Put all of these in, and then you should be able to like pop them in and out at different times, and it'll all be cohesive.
Right.
Like, oh, okay. Like,
that's cool.
Whoa. Yeah, that's extra cool. Like, let's see how much help it can give me in that way. I have to input things. Like, I'm going to start with this song. No, I don't like that. Give me a variation. And then it keep going, and then I can keep refining until I get something.
Yeah. I wonder if, like, you know, I don't know, 100 years from now, if a DJ is like literally just like writing prompts, you know, like, wow, you're good, man. Like, yeah, check it out. Like, play something that sounds like a mix between Wu-Tang and, you know, and then it's like comes up with a song and like, whoa, how did you come up with that? Just like, I'm good at finding good mashes.
Yeah, but you would still need that person, even by like your scenario. If you had a crowd of people, like the whole crowd is just kind of hanging out, like looking at people, looking at each other. That like when I go out, I don't know what I want to listen to. I want to be shown.
Yeah.
So yeah, play me something that I'm gonna like. That's a difficult task.
Yeah, and then it's done and be like, okay, for the next song, play something more like this and that, and then you're like like listening to it. No, make it more like this. Increase the drum beat, make it twice as fast, you know, and then you like fixing it, and then like while that other song is finishing, you're like, okay, that sounds good. Mix this in, and then it'll like go into the next song, right? And then it'll like go in there, and you're like already like, okay, prompt in your next one. Okay, next one, let's have some horns, you know, like.
Yeah, but that's just regular. You're just describing regular DJing.
Well, yeah, but you won't be actually doing it. You'll just be prompting. All you're going to be typing.
Well,
you're going to be typing, doing it instead of actually spending the time to like quickly try and be doing that, which normally you would do that and then you would have all that shit ready, right? Like you would already know how your stuff's going to go. Now it'd be like you're kind of going on the fly. Someone's like, oh, fuck, you got anything that's like kind of old sounding or, you know, whatever, right? Like, oh, it maybe sounds like fucking Britney Spears or something like that, you know? And you're like, oh, yeah, I've got a good idea. And like, hey, play Britney Spears singing YMCA, but, you know, it sounds like it's to a Wu-Tang beat or something, you know, like.
Mix in some ragtime.
Yeah, right.
Like really old.
Because it's your imagination, right? Kind of running off it. But it's just a new way that things could like evolve in the future, right? Like that's what DJing 100 years from now would be. You know, you're fucking on a space station or something like that, and that's your club.
The music programs that are currently out right now, or the sites that will generate that music work just the way that you're saying. But there's a repeating pattern.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's not a lot of variation, and the quality is
it's part of the it's like it just needs some evolution, right?
Yeah. It definitely needs some evolution. It's going to be like super tight in the future. But that is certainly possible. Like it's even possible now. Like you can do that, like what you're describing.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to think of like, you know, like Neuralink and shit like that, right? You know, like that could unlock your brain to the point of like, you know, when you like come up with like a symphony or something in your head and you get, you know, amazing music that you can make in your head, but you can't get it out, right? You're just like, oh man, if I could just figure out a way to copy this, and you're like, you know, trying to type it on your keyboard or, you know, your piano and make the beat. No, it's not like in my head. You know, you just can't get it, right? But like, if you could just like, oh, I got a wicked idea for a song, and then all of a sudden, you know, you just like you're playing it out of a Bluetooth speaker, basically, you know, and it sounds exactly like your head, right? Because your signals are being processed in real time. Your thought or whatever is being processed in real time into that music, you know, like hopefully that would be the future.
Yeah.
And artificial come with that would become artificial fucking telepathy. You know, I know Rogan always talks about that, you know, like, oh, Neuralink and you'll be able to read people's brains, but like it's not that you'll be able to read people's brains, it's just that you guys are both like on two computers that are just, you know, Wi-Fi connected now.
No, what,
you know,
the problem I have with telepathy is that it makes it seem like your phone doesn't have a lock on it.
Yeah.
And then without your consent, I could just walk up to your phone and open it up and start going through it.
Right.
And you'd be like, not even noticing I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is telepathy. But if there's telepathy and you can block somebody, you know, you can't read my mind, and then someone, you're like speaking through their mind going, hello, hello, you don't have to answer back.
Right.
Why don't you just use your mouth? Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess we just like we had the ability and we just used our mouths way too much and forgot how to do it.
I feel like, you know, someone who had a Neuralink or something like that, I don't think that they would be able to read a non-Neuralink mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to give you telepathy powers. I think that at best you'll be able to wirelessly connect to a friend who, you know, has sharing settings enabled, basically. You know, like that's the only reason that you're allowed to like hear their thoughts or be able to talk with them. Like, hey, how's it going? No. You guys are talking in your brain and with, you know, no mouths, but it's only because they have that switch on. Otherwise, like fucking people would be hijacking your stream all the time. And then that will become a thing, right? Eventually some nefarious actor, probably, you know, Israel intelligence, will like figure out how to like fucking, you know, crack your brain chip, and then like who knows what, you know, project an idea in there. Or
do we think it's or do I would say, like, just putting the question out, that it's feasible that they can put a Neuralink up and then be able to tell speech pattern?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the very least AI would be able to figure that out, right? I mean, even if people can't, you get some sort of signal that they just don't know how to interpret. So it's just training an AI model, be like, okay, here's all this fucking static. Can you tell me what this means? You know? And then after a while, it'll be able to be like, oh yeah, here, let me convert that for you. And it'll be like, here's my, oh, hey, we're talking telepathically.
Yeah. Yeah. They like hook the wire up to the guy's skull and then just say red ball over and over again in your head until the computer screen says red ball, red ball, red ball.
So, you know, on the alien side of things, though, if that shit ever turned out to be real, like alien stuff, then some of these technologies like stealth and fucking, you know, anti-gravity that they, you know, they possibly have, like that could have came from there, right? Well, they would have weapons and stuff like that too. And they've got supposed technology, you know, that they call voice to skull. And that's been around for a long time. Supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, experiments that they've run where they've been able to like speak into a microphone or something. And then they've got a dish that like projects at somebody. And then you hear what they're saying in the microphone just in your skull.
They have headphones that are bone induction.
Yeah. Well, that's a different thing.
Well, that's consenting, and that's actually on your head. But like, whatever that device does to make it happen on your skull,
right?
It's completely plausible to think of that in a beam form because I can have a large speaker.
Right. This is the kind of thing where I think people who have always claimed like they're targeted individuals and stuff like that, you know, like, oh, like, you know, like
space lasers.
People are talking to me in my sleep and and they're telling me to kill myself, you know. Like that's the kind of thing where it could be people that are running those tests, right? I mean, if you have that technology and you're trying to perfect, okay, like we've built this voice to skull thing, we think it'll work. Well, let's fucking start testing. You start testing it on fucking, you know, prisoners and shit like that. And like, okay, well, now it's time to take it out in the field and see how it works in real life. Is it going to work in a congested city? Is it going to work in fucking, how's it going to work as people move through the city and think they're being, getting away from it? How far does it stretch? And people are like, in the city and they're hearing voices, and then they get out of the city and, I'm in nature. I'm finally feeling good. And then all of a sudden it's coming back to them. And then they have to go into like special like lead, when they go into like rooms that are lead coated, apparently they don't hear that shit.
Yeah.
People who are like, oh yeah, like I've been, targeted for many years and whatever. And they're like, I got this special like fucking lead paint that I bought from a company that sells it to people who are targeted individuals, like literally just for other people. He's like, I fucking like coated my whole fucking, living room in that. And like, that's my safe haven. When I'm in my living room, like fucking, I never hear voices, and like I can actually sleep. And then if I could go upstairs and it's like I'm buzzing from caffeine or like, and then all of a sudden I can hear people and they're like, we're watching you, like they say shit and like try to freak you out and whatever. Everyone's got a different story that gets on these things, right?
I had some friends that moved away to a smaller town, way more north, like isolated.
Right.
And the reports from them, way better sleep. Just the circadian rhythm is like locked in perfect.
It's almost like, all electricity gives off, radiation. You know what I mean? So like right now, all these wires, if you had some sort of like, something that could measure the emissions, it'd be saying like all these cords that we have for our headphones, they're all leaking small amounts, right?
Yeah.
That could be picked up. So like all in all, there's how much electricity being used from different things. It's all giving off tiny amounts that probably all adds up, right? And then you're walking down the street and wherever you go, there's some sort of electrical field that's like pushing on you.
Yeah, there was a recent discovery I came across, and I need to get the more detail on it. But the long and short of it was the meat and potatoes of electricity happens inside the wire, but there's a looping other amount that's on the top and bottom that happens that you just don't see, perceive, or it just doesn't do anything to you, but it's there. It's not just all inside the wire. It's all around it, like a magnetic field. And more to your point, and something I don't think we've ever like tried to address, that it's always kind of been on my mind: radio waves.
Right.
We've had radio our entire lives. Radio started, I would say, turn of the century, right? Like it's relatively new.
I think it's around 50s. I want to say 40, maybe
40s.
Yeah, it's got to be early than that. Yeah,
or after World War II.
Yeah, you're right.
Or maybe World War II. They had.
I think you're right. Turn of the century, probably like late 1800s.
And we would all get the radio because their broadcasting towers would fucking puke out a whole bunch of frequency.
Yeah. You know what? It's got to be between late 1800s and early 19, because Tesla invented it basically.
Right.
And then it got hijacked, or somebody else used Tesla's patents. He had patents for it, or he didn't have patents for it. He just had a design for it. And then I think a guy named Marconi.
Oh.
Yeah, came up with the first radio. Like he's technically the inventor of radio, I believe. But it's all came from Tesla designs.
Yeah. Yeah. But those waves don't do anything to us.
Right.
Television too, they're just in the air. If I had a small radio in front of me and I turned it on, I'd get music.
Many people say that does shit, right? Like there's a whole movement of people now who claim to be like sensitive to that, right? They're like electrosensitive.
Yeah.
Like Billy Carson. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
I think his wife is like really into that. She's like electrosensitive. Like they have like the sheets, so they have these special sheets that have a copper wire that go out of their window and then go into the ground so that their sheets are grounded.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, it's hardcore. They actually sell these sheets. You can buy them online. Like They're grounded, special grounded sheets that put like a very small, thin copper wire that like leads out and then goes right into the ground, so that like you're always like grounded. You know.
Oh, well, I would just use the one in the outlet. That'd be a lot like closer and faster.
Yeah.
You know, that goes in the ground. I'm pretty sure of that.
Well, no, they don't want like that kind of ground. They want like earth connection.
Yeah,
That's why it goes in.
That's what that does.
No, the ground goes into the electrical circuit.
To the ground. Like out of your electrical box.
Right.
But
it's going through a whole bunch of shit before it ever like would actually see any dirt or earth.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the whole idea, is it's a direct connection to earth. Right.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like grounding, the whole idea of grounding is like you have to take your shoes off so that your feet are touching grass. And then like grass has these like tiny, you know, gives you tiny micro cuts on your feet. And then you let all these like endorphins and stuff through, like that, you know, chemicals basically that are like, you know, feeding you, making you feel really good, you know, your body feeling really good because it's like drawing like sustenance from the earth basically.
Yeah. I tested that out for a little bit in the summer. Tried to walk around my backyard as much as possible without shoes on.
Yeah. And
I got a wart and it sucked. Then
that went out the window.
Yeah, it was like
you like stepped in dog shit or something or what?
I don't know. Like it showed up on my heel. It could have been coincidental, but
I'm blaming it on grounding.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some kind of virus in there and it caught on my heel and made a home.
The virus is grounding.
Yeah.
The grounding movement.
Well, I had to choke it out with tape and acid.
So
it was a lot to deal with. So I haven't done it since.
Yeah.
But that guy had a good point. There was a doctor guy that was kind of pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
That you should be taking off your shoes and walking around on the dirt. He held a multimeter with shoes on because all shoes are rubber.
Sure.
And he's like, check out the electricity in my body. Yeah, we all know it. We've had fun doing that.
Uh-huh.
And then he took off his shoes and he's like, see, now it's gone. Like, shit. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because he's grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're just we're wearing rubber shoes, if you think way back when they had leather shoes.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's part of the idea, is that like the elite came up with this idea of rubber shoes to ground use, to disconnect people from earth connections, you know?
Red shoes.
Yeah. Although those are leather, right? So
those are baby skin.
Yeah. Keeps them grounded, right? So they get to keep that connection.
Oh, that's the only way to ground yourself is with baby.
baby back shoes. I want my baby back.
Hey, you know, the sides of the shoes could be the bones, you know?
Yeah.
That hold the laces. Well, anyways.
Arch support, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to get to that last video. That clip.
Yeah.
So it's like just a couple minutes long, but so this is this podcast I listened to, the Blender Report. They're like a couple of dudes here in Canada. I think they're in Ontario, whatever the longer file is, the bigger one. And anyway, so you know, they usually just like kind of tackle Canadian issues and whatever.
I love it.
Yeah, which is great, right? Because you get to hear a lot of stuff, you know, connected to home, which I never know about stuff that's going on. And these guys are like always on the pulse of it. And anyways, so I think this is kind of like a newer format for them, like kind of interviewing somebody. Normally they just talk kind of like us. They just chat back and forth about different subjects. And like, okay, today we're bringing up the House of Commons has this thing going on. What do you think about that? Like, I think that's fucking bullshit, you know? And so anyways, they're interviewing this guy. And so he's a Canadian Marine who works in intelligence and stuff, gathering intelligence for the army and stuff like that. And so I don't know if he's active or if he's retired now. I think he was active pretty recently. But anyway, so this is just him talking with them about some stuff that he's seen. And I heard him doing this big interview, and he had a lot of really great points, but he brought up the convoy, the trucker convoy, and technology that I've never heard of before. So
okay.
I thought it'd be kind of interesting.
CanSoftCom, so the Canadian Special Forces flew a King Air plane, which is a spy plane essentially equipped with super advanced tech to scrape data from any device that can transmit a signal. So that means watches, phones, computers, anything that sends or receives data, this plane will pick up and it will harvest any or all of it with or without you even knowing it happened. So this is sort of one of those cyber attacks that you can call it an attack. Well, it's basically just spying or surveillance. So 5 times this happened over the convoy in Ottawa. The flight diverted from its set path, flew directly over the convoy in a scraping more or less pattern, and conducted this illegal spying operation.
Wait a minute. So we have technology that can be in an airplane flying above. How many? Doesn't really matter how many feet. It's obviously you don't know what's happening, and their technology can on a flyby scoop all the information that's on my phone.
Oh yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
So like everybody's like 100,000 phones all at once. It can just scoop all the information.
So whatever's in your phone is now in that plane.
That is mental. I had no idea we had that. That's crazy.
So I didn't find out about that until I think it was early 2023. Somewhere in around that neighborhood, I found out about that had happened. I had been to the convoy myself just because I wanted to see what was going on, because it was apparently the Canadian January 6th or whatever, whatever the CBC title, insert CBC title. And I went to it, and it was bouncy castles and hot dogs and coffee and DJs and loud, obnoxious drinking and music, you know what I mean, into the night. But nobody there was violent that I saw. Nobody there was belligerent. There's obviously, if you have thousands of people drinking, are you going to have a problem drinker? For sure. Like, have you ever been to a bar?
Yeah.
There's some access to information because I was an intelligence analyst and I know how to find things. So I dug into ATIP a year and a half after I requested the 30-day to get information by law ATIP notice.
Right.
They sent me the email traffic of some genius civilian recognized the tail number on this plane as being a military flight and had there was articles about this. I didn't see them, but in hindsight, looking back in I think the fall of maybe this summer or spring of 22, someone had flagged it. And then it came across my attention and I said, okay, I want the email traffic because I know how this works. You can't set up even a training mission, which this was a training operation, according to CanSoftCom. You can't set that up of people flying. So you need at least 2 pilots in that plane. You need at least 1 comms researcher, who is the person operating that sophisticated surveillance equipment. You probably need a signaler on board who's operating transmitting equipment like radios or whatever else tech they're using. You've got a plane with a handful of people in it minimum who are aware of what's going on. That cannot happen by accident. If that plane deviated so far from its path that it was supposed to be flying, according to the military's public affairs officers, where it was supposed to be flying about 20 kilometers south of where it ended up over the convoy, according to the email traffic, that wasn't their plane and they didn't know it was there. So that was the first request by the journalist saying, okay, we saw a plane with a tail number. Can you tell us why and how your plane got there? The PAO on the email, on the ATIP that I received, I can send it to you guys if you want to throw it up on the screen here, replied by saying, that's not our flight. Sorry, try again. And then the journalist was like, it is your flight. Do you want to try again? Like, this is all email traffic I'm sort of summarizing, at which point they came back saying, oh, my bad. Didn't realize that it actually was our plane. Didn't know that it went there. I was just a training operation. None of these things can happen in the military without every single person being heavily invested in what's going on in this very expensive machinery and people that are invested in flying it. They absolutely knew what it did. They absolutely knew why they were doing it. And somewhere there are people who I've asked to come forward to corroborate what I'm saying, and they're not. And I wish they would. And I kind of understand why. And when I mentioned this on the podcast, again, I can't mention any names. I would never burn a source, but people have reached out to me to say, not only is what I'm saying accurate, but there's a lot more that I don't know, and they're not even comfortable telling me what it is. And some of them have left the military as well because.
Oh, and then the video ends.
I just cut it off there because I got the interesting part. I just wanted to hear about that technology. So, like, they can just fucking fly right over a city, basically, like probably any city, and then just fucking scoop everyone's fucking, like, basically clone your phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and during that the trucker rally, what they did to them was freeze their bank accounts.
Right.
So
yeah, And
Like-
not only that, people who donated, just like, oh, you gave $50 to the trucker convoy, grandma. Turns out your bank account's frozen now because you might be trouble.
Yeah, and they released the names and addresses of everybody who donated.
Right. Yeah, doxed them basically, right?
Yeah, but like, oh geez, it's that house up the street with the truck with the Canadian flags on hockey sticks and the giant sticker that says "fuck Trudeau."
Yeah,
I am so shocked.
yeah, right.
You know, I did have to. I wanted who in my neighborhood. You know, I looked, and that was irresponsible of Canada.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it was just Justin Trudeau himself.
Yeah.
Like I would need to know a little more about how things happen. We're picturing that it's a dude making all these decisions, just like America. It might not be. And like those people are still around with those same stickers on. We're on Carney.
I saw one the other day that said "fuck Carney."
Oh,
yeah, it was the maple leaf and everything. It was on some guy's truck, and it said "fuck Carney." I was like, "Oh well, at least they're being consistent."
Yeah, he's staying up to date.
Not only that, but it was the same logo and everything. So I was like, whoever's making these was like, "Wow, we can't get out of business now. We made so much money."
Yeah,
I bet whoever's selling "fuck Trudeau" stickers like made some bank.
Yeah, well, yeah, they absolutely did. And as of right now, Carney's done okay. Like nothing's happened. We're on fire. That's about all that's wrong with Canada right now. He's trying to reverse things.
Yeah,
things are still shitty, but they didn't get shittier because of him, and things were getting shittier when Justin was in power. That's what I have against the guy.
Yeah,
and he's the only person to blame. Like I was just mentioning, it might not even be him.
You don't think so?
It's hard to say. Like just as unfair is saying that well, his wife left him. Like, what did she know?
Right.
Did she just like, fuck Justin, you're doing it again? You know, like, I have to. And she knew something. And again, the reason for the show, like, it seems like there's so much that's going on behind a closed door, but they just can't say it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, tired of that. And the biggest thing nowadays, and like when you're mentioning Candace Owens, they're under fire because they would want to look at what's going on in Gaza honestly.
Yeah. Anyone who has, any kind of sympathy towards that is all of a sudden a target, It's kind of
anybody who's a Palestine sympathizer is a target.
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you? Okay, whoa. Like there is some terrible things going on there. The lead-in, what I'm speaking about, did you hear about Greta Thunberg?
Did she get arrested?
Yes,
or she's
she did.
like she's being held hostage?
She was arrested by Israel.
Yeah.
Because she was bringing food to Gaza.
Mm-hmm. I know everyone on the ship, they all put out videos like,
yeah,
like if you're seeing this, we've been abducted and we might not be safe,
Yeah. We're not coming home. They're taking us against our will because
typically what they've said is like they take those people and then they hold them for a set period and then they just deport them back to where they're from, and then it's up to the country to do whatever they're going to do, right?
They'll be fine. She's famous.
Yeah,
enough.
exactly. I think that's the thing, right? That's part of the reason they wanted her there, because then you're not going to take her out, or otherwise it's going to draw some ire. But then at the same time, they're kind of pushing it. I mean, they're at that point where they're like, hey, we're the guy. We're going to just do what we want.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. Be like, yes, we can. It's our country and we're, God's chosen people. So
Jakob, this is my house. If I don't take it, somebody else will.
If I will take it. What? You want someone else to take it?
You don't want the Jakob to have it? That lady, I swear to God, she could have taken him.
She probably would. I bet she wanted to.
Yeah.
He's like holding the gun. Yeah. Talking to her.
He probably had a gun in his pocket. And
yeah. Well, I mean, those ones of that guy, I think his name was Jacob. But yeah, he's like holding a gun at the family, like in their house. They're like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "What? If I don't do it, someone else will. Why are you yelling at me?" You know, he's just like, "Why? Yeah, I don't understand why you guys are so upset that I'm deciding I'm taking your house."
But
and he's from like Jersey. It turned out he's like a dude from Jersey. American.
So if you had the same thing, this is where it gets tough, is if you were given the same thing, your family, you go over to, like, let's say China, and they said, guess what? You know Chinese, you've been here before. We have this house here. And like you say to your family, you remember China? And it's awesome for you. You go there, you're in a neighborhood of all Canadians.
Right.
It's all your buddies. You're making a life. Like, holy shit.
Expat community.
Yeah. How much did your house cost? Nothing. They said just move in. And then this other family comes just like, Nathan, come on. You found out it was my house. I bet you'd hold a gun like, look, we're real fucking comfortable here. I'm sorry this happened to you, but fuck, man.
What do you want me to do it?
What
about it?
Yeah, what do you want me to do about it? Like, I was given a chance to win. I'm here. Rent free. You know, I'm in my element. I'm so close to Jerusalem. Of all places. And you know, like the people of Gaza, like the hard part is they don't have anywhere else to go. If they had an empty Chinese city.
Yeah, but then it gets back to the like, just because that is the case, even if they had a country that was right next door that, hey, guess what? No one's living in this country next door. Why don't you guys just head over there? Like, why don't you guys head over there? We were here first. Or at least we've been here for the last 1,500 years. Like, you know, it's time to give up your claim.
If you want to really piss off Israel, like that is a miss on Canada's part. I would like to see that in some kind of way, shape, or forms, because what we're seeing so far is something bad will happen in the world. We'll bring in a boatload and put them in a hotel, and then just say, here's some money, here's some keys to Canada, go ahead, good luck. And that's not saying anything anti-immigration, quite the opposite, actually, is that's not a good plan for them.
Right.
They should come here, yes, but like our last show, we went over a lot of tiny home ideas. Those are fantastic ideas. How about you have that ready for the community?
Yeah.
And then now you have like little Syria in like North Barrie.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be cold for them, but then they have like a set up community.
Right.
And then from there they can launch out and spread and integrate.
That is nice in theory, but the problem with that is when people tend to congregate together, then they stay together, you know? Like, I mean, like, let's say like we were in China and then they gave us a nice neighborhood, right? And there's where you're putting, everyone that comes to Canada, you guys get a nice little area here. We're putting all Canadians over here. Well, then that becomes little Canada, right?
Yeah.
Everyone that walks around is only speaking Canadian and whatever. Even though you're living in China, you should probably be learning Chinese now, right? And like learning their customs. But instead, well, we're keeping our flags. Once we're in little Canada here, we've got our pubs. We're serving poutine at our local places, you know, like we all speak English. No one here speaks any Chinese, you know, but like, and then you become a thing. Well, so like now you're just a separate community.
Yeah.
That's integrating and not even integrating. You're just, interacting with another community. So you've got all these like Chinese people and this like tiny little Canadian community where you all speak English and you've got all your ways, but you don't want to learn about all the Chinese things, which is the reason you're there. I mean, you think it's like a great culture and, you wanted to live there.
We would have to in some way, shape, or form to do business, right? We would even need like a percentage of liaison.
right,
between us and because we need to work and we need to generate like some kind of living situation.
Mm-hmm.
So like just unfairly racist, I'm feeling like this is, but someone from Iraq comes over here and their talent is making rugs. You know, I see those stores.
Okay.
So that's that
Persian rugs.
Persian rugs, you know, they come over here. That's what they provide us.
Right.
Hey, I got rugs. Either I make them or I got a lead on them.
Right.
So I've started a store. Amazing. You know, that like Little Canada, like guess what? We make hamburgers. And we send them out to China.
Right.
China now caught on and they love the Canadian hamburger or whatever we produce. You know, that's our thing that we do. We need that liaison back and forth. And then the younger generations are going to start to want to rebel. Fuck you, mom and dad. I'm going to the big city where all my friends are.
It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. They always want to rebel just because they have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How, okay. This is a good point of pride. How many, like, let's say turban wearing youth that you can walk up to and you're just like, hey, what's your name? Yeah, my name is Tom or Perry. I really like listening to Drake. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He sounded like you're Canadian. Boom. Like through and through. But they still wear the turban. And like when you talk to them, you kind of expect the accent to come out.
Right.
True to your roots, but you're a Canadian working, paying tax, contributing to our system. So I would think the same would happen. You're not going to get it in generation 1, but 2 and 3. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Pro-immigration. But pro-immigration where it's a immigration exchange program. We should have little Canadas in lots of other places as you're jumping out. Like we already have Markham, Ontario. You know, they have their own police.
Yeah.
That's Little China with their own police system.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about totally separate, India, Canada.
Yeah.
That's its own thing.
China did have its own police force over here, right? We found out like 200 different little mini police stations going on here.
So why can't we have that somewhere else and further integrate?
Right.
Because the way I like other people came here and established, let's just say someone from China came over to Toronto in the 80s, bought property downtown, made a family, has like 2-3 properties around the Toronto area. Nowadays, he or she has no interest in going back to China whatsoever.
Right.
Their property has doubled, tripled, quadrupled. They're rich, probably have stores, you know, like they're China. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right. I'm moving and grooving over here. We move over there. Now is our chance to move and groove over there. It's just, you know, you got to spread around.
Spread that wealth around.
Yeah. If you stay too tight and close and inbred, you get the Windsors.
Yeah, exactly. Quite
and
literally.
Look at now we think the reptilians that rule the world, and you know all that inbreeding. Too close, no good. Spread it around, integrate, mix.
Yeah,
nature loves that shit.
Oh fuck! I was gonna say something now, and it just escaped my mind.
Oh, I got something to drop. Well, not drop, but we're talking about handsome Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So he was saying that there was a guy that got good with locals in Peru, and there was a legend that is pre-Incan. Before the Incan civilization, there was a civilization that has a shaft made out of gold, like gold plated, and whatever their artwork is, and it goes deep underground.
Where's this?
in Peru.
In Peru?
In Peru. And there was always a legend of it. But once the Spaniards came over, everybody kept it a secret because they don't want them to have it.
Right.
Then to go over to today, where this guy is talking, one of the handsome Indiana Jones's buddies is talking to a priest, and the priest goes, "You want to see something? Come look at this." It was under a church, and there's an archway that's bricked, and he looks in between some of the bricks, and he can see gold.
Oh wow!
Going down. I think the legend is called Chichen Itza or something.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, he goes, "This is it." And then the priest started freaking. "I shouldn't have shown you. Get out right now." And they've gotten to the point of doing radar around the church and getting some good proof to go to governments. They might go over Peru or even this guy's head just to like, no, get the fuck out. We're taking the bricks down. Whatever's in there is like bananas.
Yeah.
It is too bananas to leave alone.
And you could imagine the America like kind of bump it in there.
Pre-Incan. That's wow. How many years before Jesus, you know?
Right?
With big gold plates in a big tunnel that goes deep underground with relics.
Yeah.
Like, oh my good God. I hope this is like going on right now today, that they're excavating and maybe getting the bricks down.
Yeah, me too.
But that guy is there for that. He's in there.
I think our show got disconnected again off YouTube.
Oh,
off of Riverside. You might have to reload it again.
Well, the button says stop, and then up here,
what did you do last time to like
see
click on or whatever?
Live recording.
It's still going, but it's the screen share is just not showing anything. Like here, check this out.
Oh, the screen share.
Yeah, the screen share died on us.
Yeah, the screen share. I think we're learning it does that.
That's weird, eh? Okay.
Yeah, but I do have kind of a neat video that
see, I'm streaming the live currently on YouTube here on my phone. You can see, check this out. Oh, that's cool. Oh, there it kicked in.
Yeah,
it's a little behind.
Look at that thing go, eh?
Oh wow, that's like hugely behind. This whole stream, I guess it's like at least 15 seconds behind, 30 seconds behind. Okay, so now I'm seeing your orb. I see your orb and I raise you a wow.
Even if that's fake, that's pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah. Is that the one that went down?
The one that went down is the Boogosphere.
Okay.
This one is known as the Yumbo
Oh yeah,
sphere.
that was totally fake.
It could be on a line,
maybe, but no, just I don't know. Just the way it's zooming totally looks like it's AI. Like they still haven't got it down. Like look at those clouds in the background. It just looks too static.
Yeah, there's that.
There's just a little bit too much. Like the zoom in. Yeah, it's just got that touch to it where you can kind of still notice it, but yeah, definitely not doing it for me. Kind of looks like the fucking spaceship from Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah, I know.
I'm ready for it to turn into a little like fucking pointy end.
That one, I was all ready to believe that was some kind of secret, like, oh, they must know something on that set. And then I watched the behind the scenes footage. They had like a whole featurette, and no, there is a very long, well thought out progression on how they made that ship.
Oh yeah.
We looked at turtle shells, and then look, we have these drawings. We're taking it, and then we're using this as reference, then shaping and
different angles and geometry stuff. Yeah.
Once they went through it, it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
I wanted to show you a quick video.
Oh, okay.
Unrelated. It was the Mark Carney thing. about the banning cash, the whole plan behind that. If you go to YouTube,
okay,
back to the YouTube, and type in Mark Carney, $10,000. I think then Rebel News comes up, and they did a little story about it. And we can kind of see if it's like bullshit or not. Okay. So go down a little bit. It should say something. Rebel News is the one we want, not CBC. Okay. Why does your stuff come up so different? Associated Press. It's like yours knows all the random shit. Rebel. Okay. Type in urgent petition. Why is Mark Carney?
Let's try Rebel.
Yeah.
Rebel News. See what? Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Second one. Down. Yeah, that one. All right. Full screen.
Buried deep within Mark Carney's 140-page bill about border security is a provision that's got nothing to do with border security at all. It's a plan to make it illegal to use cash to conduct business over $10,000. Here is the exact text from Section 136 of Bill C-2. Let me read it to you. Every person or entity that is engaged in a business, a profession, or the solicitation of charitable financial donations from the public commits an offense if the person or entity accepts a cash payment, donation, or deposit of $10,000 or more in a single transaction or in a prescribed series of related transactions that total $10,000 or more. I think that's pretty plain English. They just sneaked this into the border bill. You can see it's got nothing to do with borders at all. It's got nothing to do with criminals at all. In fact, it specifically says that this applies to businesses and doctors and lawyers and other professions. It even applies to charities. What on earth is going on? Why are those groups banned from accepting cash more than $10,000? Like it's an offense now. What's going on here? Well, you got to remember that Mark Carney is the former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. And for years, those central banks have been looking jealously at Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency because they can't control those. So central bankers have invented something called CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. The idea would be a government cryptocurrency that the government would issue. It would let the government track how you spend and receive money. The real power is what smart money, as
sounds good,
can do. It can literally be turned off with a kind of kill switch. For example, CBDCs could be programmed not to let you buy things.
I think it's positive, and he's just saying it in a negative way.
What is positive?
The government doesn't like the truckers.
Like everything.
Things the government says have too much carbon in them, like a tank of gas or eating a steak. The Bank of Canada proudly says on their own website, and I quote, "We've been exploring a digital form of the Canadian dollar, also known as a central bank digital currency, CBDC, to be ready in case it is needed in the future." C2, the new bill by Carney, is obviously paving the way for this. Carney is making it illegal for even churches and even doctors and other upstanding citizens to accept cash. This is clearly not about cracking down on bad guys. It's about cracking down on cash itself and the privacy and freedom that cash gives to citizens. We got to stop this. We're already tracked enough by our use of credit cards, but that's a choice we can each make. By banning cash,
doesn't mean cash is gone.
Towards a trackable CBDC.
No, it's about tracking.
Mark Carney's liberals
Yeah.
seek to make every aspect
Like you wouldn't want them to be able to give you basically what they have now, a digital currency, right? Like, I mean, all our shit is digital now, except instead of the dollar, it would be the digital Canadian dollar, like a Bitcoin. They can also change the value of it.
Sign our petition at
Right?
don'tkillcash.com.
Get rid of inflation that way.
That's don'tkillcash.com. I tell you, once it's gone, we will never get it back.
Okay. So I don't believe in cash. I like it. I want it. But it's just something physical that
right.
The country has to print it and put it in circulation. That whole thing costs money to get done.
Kind of, but I think only like 5% of the cash that's in circulation is the actual money that
correct.
We have, like
it's all in digital numbers on my debit card, on my credit, like I tap.
Right. But that's the Canadian, that's our dollar that's tied to our economy. Whereas if you do it digitally, then it's just a price that they've set. They've set, okay.
Right.
Now there's however they decide to do, there's only 21 million like Bitcoin or something like that. And this is how you can get them and whatever. That's a whole different system that they would have to work around, but then that tackles inflation and whatever. But that they could say, we're ending the Canadian dollar. We're moving over to the digital Canadian dollar.
Yeah.
And so now, you had $100,000 in your bank account before. That's only worth $50,000 in digital Canadian dollars. But they'll go further.
Yeah.
Right. So now McDonald's only costs $5, but it's 5 digital Canadian dollars, and things are more reasonable now. Back to those prices. You can get a house for 80,000 digital Canadian dollars or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you're still working as hard and whatever. And more importantly, you gave to that fucking trucker convoy? Well, now we don't have to do all the work. Now we can just see who did it and then say, bank account off.
Yeah. Because our Canadian dollar has that backdoor.
Right. And well, fuck you. I'm just going to go to the grocery store and just pay with cash, $20, $30, whatever. Right now, you don't have that option. Everything is digital. Not to mention whatever happened if, EMPs we talked about, right? Like that dark out, that day where the blackout happens and there's no power for 3 months or something like that while they try to get the grid back going. It's going to be fucking chaos in that whole time, right?
So physical gold would probably be your best bet.
Well, that's why it's always been that way, right?
Yeah.
For as long as people have been around, gold and silver and precious gems have been commodity, right? Not to mention food, right? Salt was like most important fucking thing for a long time, right?
I got a spare $500 stored in my face. Just in case.
Yeah.
If I ever really needed to, but I hope to die with it.
That's to bury me.
That's my plan.
If you ever die, little instructions, cut open face.
Oh, my death instructions right now is you don't need to buy a whole casket. Just buy a treasure chest.
Like from the dentist.
Huh?
Like one of those little ones they keep the
treasures
in at the dentist.
Big enough to hold my skull and 2 leg bones and a bunch of loonies.
Is that your plan?
Yeah. Yeah, we live in Canada. Canada has a loony. So many people go looking for coins and just play pretend I found these doubloons.
Mm-hmm.
Like pirate times. We have loonies. Loonies is not real gold, but as close as we're gonna get to gold coins.
Yeah,
that's sick.
I guess that'd be really funny if you fucking I don't know, not 1,000, but 200, 300 years from now, and you're metal detected on the beach, and fucking you come across it. Oh my god! You open it up, it's full of fucking coins, and then you take them to the thing. These are Canadian dollars. Yeah,
hey,
they're not
$40.
They're not worth anything.
Yeah.
We'll give you $10 in digital money for the scrap metal, basically.
What are you giving me for the skull that was on top of it?
Yeah, we'll give you more for that. Give you $100 for that.
Yeah, because the tooth. And then you can take the skull.
Yeah.
So the $10,000 thing, that I believe in too. Who's walking around with 10 G's in their pocket to buy something?
Well, someone, he said if you wanted to like, go put a down payment on a house or anything like that, you couldn't bother doing it in cash.
Everybody. I don't know of anybody who did it with cash.
Well, in the past, if you did do things like that, they would give you discounts, right? Like, oh, you do cash and then you get like cash back on it. If you gave them $10,000 in cash, then they gave you like $1,000 cash back thing. Like they'd give you 1,000 of it back, but you would still get 10,000 off of your mortgage or whatever, right? That was their like incentive plan kind of thing to like, oh, if you do it in cash, how many places like you get a good deal, like, go to a mechanic or something like, oh, if you give me cash, I'll do it for 200, right?
Yeah.
Instead of 800 on the books.
So what that just said there, anything over 10,000, if you're walking somewhere with $10,000 of cash, what are you doing? We don't have anything where you can do that.
Yeah.
Unless you're buying a car right up. But like, even then,
I think that whole idea though is like, let's say for whatever reason you had fucking, oh, I got $20,000 here and I'm going to, give it to my kid, instead of transferring it in digitally through the account, you wanted to like, give it to him physically or something like that,
See, we're already passing into where criminals can like really thrive.
Yeah.
Right. So he's saying, okay, let's just cut that shit out. If you're going to do that, get a certified check, get some kind of paper trail that it happened. That's all I heard from that was that we need a paper trail, anything over $10,000, because some kind of sale of an illegal car, some kind of money laundering, it happens. He saw it working where he did.
Yeah.
That's his experience.
But how would you know anyways? I mean, people who are laundering with cash are still doing that. Anywhere you're taking 10 grand to do something nefarious, they're not reporting that shit. You know what I mean? So once this law goes into effect, it's like, oh, instead of fucking sending $10,000 to our laundromat, we're just going to take that $10,000 and fucking ship it to Mexico or something, have them do it. Right. Like, and then when you can't do that, then, or even here, it'll be like, oh, instead of fucking 10,000, we're going to give it to 10 different people and they're all going to do 1,000.
Yeah.
Like they'll find ways around it that way. Right.
And we have to trust them.
Yeah.
Or whoever he appoints. There has to be trust from the top to the bottom. And that's kind of in short supply.
Yeah.
And, like we're all watching him with a close eye. Like, come on, Carney. Like, so, and then the other points were, what else was he saying there?
He's a banker, so we know that he knows all the ropes.
Yeah, the over 10,000, the Canadian coin. Now that one is a little weird because like, how is that different from just like regular direct deposit and just the denominations that we have now, other than what you were kind of saying, where the prices we see with our eyes look better, but the value is not good. It is just going to get worse.
Well, give him us a cookie, right? That's how it's going to start. 10,000. Oh, well, fucking guys are still managing to do some illegal shit. So what we're going to do is move that to 5,000 here now, in the year 2040. Right. And then like, oh, they're having a vote today. It's the year 2016. And they've decided that we think that $1,000 is more than enough for everybody. Who even has cash nowadays? They'll be interviewing people on the street. I don't even use cash.
Yeah. Yeah. Just all digital.
Once it's 100% digital, you know what? Do you know who Aaron Russo is? He's a famous filmmaker who made like, I want to say like, I don't know. He made some famous movies. Like if you looked up the movies that he made originally, you would like Tango and Cash or something like that. Like famous guy. And he ended up making this documentary that was like a 9/11 documentary, I believe. I think it was a 9/11 documentary. It was like a really good one. And he just mysteriously kind of died like a year or two after he got into it. But there's this famous clip of him on YouTube, and he's talking about the money, and he's like, I used to be friends with one of the Rothschilds, and he's like, this is what they told me, and like it's just an interview. But you should type in Aaron Russo clip Rothschild, because then it kind of gives you like a behind the scenes, right?
Oh yeah, the chip.
Yes. Yeah. It was right around that time. The fucking RFID chips, right? But he's explaining, he's like, this is the guy, he said, we're in the New World Order. This is our plan. And like, this isn't like 2005, right? So you're like, if that is their plan, then, we're in fucking trouble. Aaron Russo. So yeah. And then put interview, maybe Aaron Russo interview. It's RUSSO.
Oh.
I was gonna say it goes down. Oh, there we go. There you go. InfoWars.
You rolling? I'm honored to be interviewed by Alex Jones, a truth seeker.
I didn't know it was Alex Jones.
Alex charming me. It's getting me all smiling. So the ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it.
And when was this?
Now they're trying to do it in America with the
Saying the
North American
details.
Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda
14 years ago.
is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips.
Well, it's in our cards and in our phones.
So that chip, they want to be able to put that in your hand.
And all money.
Well, it's in our phones.
Yeah.
And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip, and you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do,
everything.
Listen to Alex's voice.
And
sounds so
they
young
want a
and like
one-world government
no
run
rasp.
by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips and they control people, and you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
Eric, can you be specific about when you met Rockefeller, how it happened in these?
So we're 14 years later.
I met Rockefeller through a female attorney I knew who called me up one day and said, one of the Rockefellers would like to meet you.
It's quite possible the Rockefeller he's talking about is
He
dead.
had seen the video and wanted to meet me.
Yeah.
I knew I was running for governor of Nevada. So sure, I'd love to meet him. And I met him and I liked him. And he was a very, very smart man. And we used to talk and share ideas and thoughts. And he's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened that there was going to be an event. Never told me what the event was going to be, but there was going to be an event. And out of that event, we were going to invade Afghanistan to run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We were going to invade Iraq, to take over the oil fields, establish a base in the Middle East, and make it all part of the New World Order. And we go after Chavez in Venezuela. And sure enough, later,
Venezuela did happen.
And I remember he was telling me how you're gonna see soldiers looking in caves for people in Afghanistan and Pakistan and all these places, and there's going to be this war on terror, which is no real enemy, and the whole thing is a giant hoax, but it's a way for the government to take over the American people.
He told you it was going to be a hoax.
Oh yeah, there's no question. She says there's going to be war on terror, and he's just laughing. There's no who are we fighting? I mean, why do you think 9/11 happened, and then nothing's happened since then? Do you think that our security is so great here that these people who pulled off 9/11 who were able to can't knock down another plane? Come on, it's ridiculous. 9/11 was done by people in our own government and our own banking system to perpetuate the fear of the American people into subordinating themselves to anything the government wants them to do.
Which happened.
That's what it's about.
Yep.
And to create this war, this endless war on terror. And that's why and that was the first lie. And the next lie was going into Iraq, to get Saddam Hussein out with his weapons of mass destruction. That was the next lie.
Now, specifically, this was a little over.
We saw that become a lie.
This was
11 months before 9/11.
Yeah.
And Nick Rockefeller, who's a lawyer, he's become your friend over the previous years, and he's saying to you that there's going to be this big event, and then out of that we're going to have a war on terror, and it's just going to go on and on.
Right. An endless war on terror without any real enemy. That you can never define a winner.
And did he say that it's going to be perfect because you can't define an enemy? It just goes on and
Yeah,
on?
because you can't define a winner. There's no one to beat, so it goes on and on forever. And they can do whatever they want. They scare the hell out of the American public. Look, this whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. It's very difficult to say it out loud because people are intimidated against saying it. Because if you say it, they want to make you into a nutcase. But the truth has to come out. That's why I'm doing this interview. The fact of the matter happens to be that the whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. Yeah, there's a war going on in Iraq because we invaded Iraq. And people over there fighting, But the war on terror, it's a joke, And until we discover what really happened on 9/11 and who was responsible for 9/11, because that's where the war on terror emanates from. That's where it comes from. It was 9/11 that allowed this war on terror to begin. And until we get to the bottom root of 9/11, the truth of 9/11, we'll never know about the war on terror.
Aaron, you said that he was, and I think it's important, and I know this about the Rockefellers. From Dr.
Same
Nicholas
people
study,
behind Bayard Tompkin.
Literally, you'll be 20 years old.
Vietnam War.
College. And
Oh, Gulf of Tonkin.
Gulf of Tonkin. Gulf Bay.
And that clearly he was, I want to make it specific and just get you to reiterate what you said last night.
I'm pretty sure that
you got 30% of the vote. You were
what's his name?
having an effect. You made mad as hell. They knew that you
Jim
started-
Morrison's father was
they
involved
knew
with
that
that.
you were,
Hey?
somebody was taking action.
Oh, yeah?
Gulf of Tonkin. He was like a general that was like the main guy that was running that.
Oh,
yeah.
Point of, hey, we are here to recruit you, and don't worry, leadership's going to say, don't mess.
Even though I trust this guy, I'm pretty sure he's done cocaine before.
He's a Hollywood producer.
But it's more subtle than that.
Well, in your words, just
If he lifts up his hand and his pinky finger has one long nail.
Remember, we were friends.
Okay, here, this is where he talks about
At my house a lot. We'd have dinner. We'd talk.
private conversations with the
They'd tell me
Rockefeller.
about business investments that you get involved in, or they would help me with this business investment or that business investment. And was I interested in joining the Council on Foreign Relations? I would have to get a letter to join them, but was I interested in that? And just stuff,
The
leading
Council on Foreign Relations, man, that's
Yeah.
a famous
say to
one.
him that I never really did that because that wasn't where I was coming from. As much as I like you, Nick, your ways and my ways we're on the opposite side of the fence. I don't believe in enslaving people.
And he would come back with, "Oh, I do." Or,
Well, it would be more like
it's better for them.
It's more like how do I put it? It was like, what do you care about them? What do you care about those people? What difference does it make to you? Take care of your own life. Do the best you can for you and your family. What do the rest of the people mean to you? They don't mean anything to you. They're just serfs. They're just people. It was just a lack of caring. you know, and that's just not who I was. It was just sort of like cold, you know, it was just like cold, you know, and
that is kind of a
simple.
prevalent
What's the point of
attitude.
all this?
Yeah, right.
You have all the money in the world you need. You have all the power you need. What's the point?
Isn't that the
What's the end
definition
goal?
of like a
And he said the
diva?
end goal is to get everybody chipped,
There.
to control the whole society, to have the bankers, the elite people, you know, the bankers and some governor controlling the world. And I said, all the people in the Council on Foreign Relations believe this way you do? He said, no. You know, most of them believe they're doing the right thing. A lot of them believe it's better off being socialistic. You know, we have to convince people that socialism is really capitalism. Because America is becoming a socialist country. It's a communist country today. Well, one of the things they told me was that he's at the house one night, and he would talk, and he started laughing. He said, Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? And I said, I had pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he started to laugh. He said, you're an idiot. And I said, why am I an idiot? He said, let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded Women's Lib, you know? And we're the ones who got all over the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, and you want to know why? He said, there were two primary reasons. And they were, one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before Women's Lib. And the second reason was now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. It breaks up the family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them. And so those are the two primary reasons for Women's Lib, which I thought up to that
I have
point
a hard time
you know, when I
going
saw the
against that
forces
point.
behind it,
Yeah.
where they were coming from when they created it.
Just the fact, like, we couldn't tax them until we got them to work, right? The women,
Yeah.
like there's
that's
half
a-
the population we're missing out on fucking taxes here. Like, let's get them in the workforce. Come on.
Like, shit, that makes sense.
No, I never heard that. Yeah, we're gonna CIA funded Ms. Magazine.
Funded Ms. Magazine with the stated goal of taxing women and breaking up the family.
No kidding. I never heard that. Well, Nick told me. I mean, I know it, but not because I know the CIA was involved in it.
Well, Gloria Steinem was proud of it. Oh, the CIA wanted to help women.
No
And
kidding.
so they funded it. Yeah, and of course it's divide and conquer.
Right.
And
of
what
course.
they do is they focus in obviously on real problems. Women were getting shafted in many ways, but the elite wasn't planning to help them. They were planning to really shaft them and take men away from them. Look at what they did with black families. You only had about 10% of legitimacy 50 years ago in black communities, and now it's over 90%. And look at welfare. You were going to give you some money, but you can't have a man in the house.
Right.
And so that was further to degrade the family,
Yeah.
totally destroyed. And now illegitimacy is over 50% in the general population.
Right. Well, see, the whole thing is these people control the money, so they make all the rules. You understand? And they put whatever rules they want into effect. And the truth is, America has really become a socialist, communistic country. And everybody says it's a capitalistic country. It's not a capitalistic country. You know, how could it be capitalistic when you have a central bank? That's the first. It can't be. You know,
It's a planned economy.
It's a planned economy. It's a phony. If they want to create prosperity, they just print dollars. They just make dollars or put digits into the economy, and then now you have prosperity. You don't have real prosperity. You don't have real manufacturing. You just have money being injected in. It's an infusion of credit,
Which only makes the government go into more debt.
into more debt. My friend.
Wow. That's a hell of a speech, man.
Yeah.
It put us like we're almost at the 3-hour mark, but like
Bam.
Yeah. Needed to hear him say that.
Yeah. Well, I know the part I really was focusing on was the when he says like, oh, he told me like the ultimate goal is to get everyone chipped, and then you know, if we don't like what they're saying, we just turn off the chip, you know.
But we do have that in our bank cards. That's our chip.
Yeah, but they don't really, like, they can just, you've got to go around stuff, you know, now. Like, you could file a motion and, you know, go through all kinds of stuff, and there's all kinds of, you know, paper trails and whatever that are going through the bank, right? Whereas this, they could basically just, do it from anywhere at a central bank location, right? Instead of having to go to your, branch and then maybe fuck with the system and kind of make it all work out that way, right? They could literally just like get you at the source, or not at the source, but like at the, like the end of the line, like all roads lead to fucking the main, international bank, right?
Yeah.
And it would have everybody's record there all over the world, basically.
So all of that is said in...
Right now, it's all different banks that are all independent, right? So, I mean... They're all handling different areas, right? Whereas this would be a government thing where the government, it's one entity just handling all money, as opposed to right now, currently it's all private.
So one thing that guy did not see at that time, and that we're seeing now where we could benefit, instead of seeing it as doom and gloom and where it can turn around, is our housing crisis is because of banks and real estate agents. Right?
Our housing crisis?
Yeah.
And I mean, they've exacerbated it, right? But I mean, I think
the government,
the majority of it is from government horrible immigration policy, right? Because I mean, if you've got like a slow trickle of people, like we were like 5 years ago, we were only letting like, 30,000 people in per year or something like that. And then Trudeau upped it after COVID. And then now we're at 400,000 people. That's how many people we're letting in. So just the low end of numbers is 400,000 people, new people that get added to Canada every year.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're looking, just over a million people will be added to Canada every 3 years, not to mention our population, natural growth. And then out of 400,000 people that arrive in a year, we've only made maybe 30,000 homes.
Yeah.
New homes across Canada.
So rather than what I saw, other than immigration, I saw Toronto become crazy. Always was crazy, but like it really went up around 2000 and then kept going. A lot of people from across the country want to be the influencer, live the city life. So that kept Toronto at a healthy, huge price.
Right.
Once COVID hit, nobody could afford that. And they started looking at Hamilton.
Yeah. And Countryside and whatever, selling their $1 million shit place in the city.
So,
and then who was buying that though? I don't even know. I think that's where, the Black Rocks of the world stepped in, to like, oh, we'll buy that house and then we can rent it because we've got no problem fucking taking that debt on and then renting the house out. Even if it went down in value, we're still going to get $2,000 a month for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so the apologies to anybody who's not a Hamiltonian listening. What I saw was areas like over by Parkdale. Those houses were like 200,
right?
And that was like kind of like the ballpark, like your Parkdale Avenue, North End, just basic house. You go in there and it's like not too much different than an apartment. So that was 200.
Mm-hmm.
The COVID hit, the Toronto people moved away from there over here and took those houses and added rooms on them because they're 500 they got over there. They brought it over here. And then it just took a couple of short years of the person selling going, oh, wait, no, I'll buy it for this much. I'll buy it for this much. And we do, like, you must admit that James Street is starting to look more like Toronto. Toronto influence has made its roots here. We've had neighborhoods turn themselves around. It's been a positive thing, but it drove up our prices because everybody's fighting it. The person selling is going to want the highest bidder. If I'm selling my house, I want the most money.
Yeah. It's a combination of that.
Yeah.
You know, the reason it's,
And then
it's going up so extreme is because, you know, that supply and demand creates, you know, a crunch. But then also our money is simultaneously being devalued by the overdrawing and stuff, right? Because it is just, you know, numbers on a keyboard for these banks. They get to create money every time you know, go to the bank and take out a loan. That's money created, right? You take out a loan for 10 grand, they just literally create that 10 grand to give to you. They're not taking it from a vault of, you know, someone else's $10,000 that they put in there for safekeeping, and now they're lending it to you, which is how originally banks started.
Yeah. How many I'm aware of one, but how many groups of, say, like 5 guy friends that get together and with all their names, they buy a house, they buy all the contractors to fix it up. They let the house sit for the amount of time before they can sell it at the raised value. Nobody's lived in there in the in-between.
Yeah.
2 houses on the side there. I saw that happen like 3-4 times.
Right.
Nobody lived in it. They fixed it up, visited every once in a while to make sure everything worked, and then put it for sale when they were able to. And that flipping the house just raised the value of what, 30,000, 40,000, then it went 100,000, 200,000, 400,000. We're at $1 million a piece now for just normal houses that have had renovations again and again. And all they did was change the color of the cabinets.
Yeah. Well, that's also on the buyers, though. I mean,
and now it's
why would you want, you know, to be like, oh, okay, well, I'll pay extra just for pink cabinets or whatever, you know, like that's on the buyer also to be like, oh, that's not worth it, you know.
So if Carney somehow explains it, it makes sense to me, where he does that thing where everything resets to normal. We need somebody to step in and reset things to normal. How do you do that in this situation? If he found a way with this coin, I might be cool with it.
What coin?
His own Canadian coin.
The digital coin?
The digital coin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, no, that's the lure, though. That's how they get you into it, right? It's like, oh, don't you see how unstable everything is? Whose fault is that originally?
Yeah.
Like, you know, theirs, but then they're like, oh, see, look how shady it is. Wouldn't it be great if we just have a coin that we can control and make sure that it never does this?
And then they said, we never said we weren't evil.
Yeah.
Gotcha, bitch. Now we control everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But what if they can also do something to the effect of when someone's on welfare or some kind of like government assistance, they can control where that coin is spent.
Yeah, that's another part of it. Yeah, say you get government assistance. Oh, okay, we give you $500 a month. It's on your chip. Then you go to the bar and you scan your hand like bleep. Oh, sorry, you're not authorized to buy that.
Yeah,
you're only allowed to spend your money on food.
Yeah, or they get that, and they're like, how much of that $500 a month goes to a cell phone bill?
Yeah. I mean, then you're going to just have weird hacks. People do it. Guys standing outside grocery stores like, man, can I buy your groceries and you can just get me a bottle of booze over at the store over there?
Yeah.
You know, like, please. Oh man, can I buy your groceries? That would be guys standing out. Can I buy your groceries? Can I buy your groceries? You know, and then they'll wave their hand and there's $100 worth of groceries. And then you go over and, you know, buy them fucking whiskey or whatever.
You know what? You want to know a regular hack I heard of that's scamming the government, but it's just a drain on everything.
Sure.
Is dude knocks up a chick. They get their apartment.
Right.
Dude keeps his mail.
Right.
At his parents.
Yeah, at his parents. Yeah, and then
she's a single mother.
The girl, and then they're getting single mother,
government assistance, government assistant daycare. Yeah. Which is vastly different from all the other parents that are slugging it out with you yourself.
I mean, if you want to go through all that trouble and fucking deceit, I say, it's all power to you.
Well, I saw people that did benefit from that, especially when Justin Trudeau got into power.
Yeah.
And that's where it was like, oh, okay, well, it's working out for you guys, even though you are scamming.
Mm-hmm.
You've inflated the amount of money you're getting by telling a lie. You're here, you sleep in the bed.
Ideally, they shouldn't have to lie, and they should just be able to get that money.
Parents should have that help.
Yeah,
from
exactly.
Canada.
So they just shouldn't have to lie about it.
Yeah,
but they do.
But every parent
to get that assistance. Otherwise, they're like, well, do we want to play fair or do we want to get that government money?
So if that coin works in that way, and then just give it to every parent.
Yeah, but then it'll be the same thing. Like, oh, you have $500 allotted to you this month, but that $500 can only be spent on clothing or food.
Yeah.
Or book supplies or whatever, right? For schooling.
Instead of a big roundabout tax kind of thing, just like, oh, you're a new parent, you have credits for daycare for this child's life.
Right.
This child's birth certificate has daycare credits until the age of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's tracked and in the system. Could be bad and evil, but could be good in that way. Like, then it helps you along. Oh, you just got married? Well, here's a first time, like, home buying. A whole package where, like, that's what I want to see Canada give. Like, some kind of like, hey, guess what? We're building up in Barrie. Barrie, the new wild frontier.
Yeah.
Houses cost this much. First time home buyer, we're going to help you out in this way, this way, this way. Here's the job postings in the area. Just like condense it all. We just like, what do I do when I'm homeless? Well, call 411. Like, we have kind of ways, but they're all dated. Like, if Carney can get a think tank together I know it's possible. There is one person that played SimCity and then had it perfect. Yeah, it's you got to find it online, and
Perfect
I'm not gonna
SimCity.
Yeah, there is a way he put it in a perfect balance. No disaster, nothing, and it was like utopia. There's certain people that have built utopias and had them work in simulations.
Sure.
And it's like commerce, economy, and have it all.
Because that's the straight thing of like, okay. Like when you just go by a formula of like, if you do this, this should be your reaction and so on and so forth. But somehow it fucking never works out that way in real life because somebody's pulling strings from behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about, it's not just about straight GDP growth and what can be taken over here. It's about, hey, who's skimming off the top? Like, the sim doesn't take bad actors into account, basically, right? Bad guys, Everyone's on there. It's not telling you like how many robberies and all that kind of stuff, and how much money's being lost and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but how much gun violence could spring from kids with nothing to do?
Right.
Bad homes, and then they're out on the street.
Do you get gang violence because kids aren't in school in the simulation, or?
Right, like let's talk about a really terrible neighborhood in Toronto, where we know that there's a lot of crime and a lot of shootings, and is that problem that the kids don't have access, or is it because like it's cool in the zeitgeist? We have both things that seem true.
Yeah, could be probably common.
Could be hard lives. Yeah. Straight up hard lives. Okay, do you need a way out? Like, could I help you? That should be the approach. And right now we have football programs for the kids. Like, is that going to solve the gun violence?
Yeah, right.
It might have to be something different than that. I'm not a part of the think tank. Or maybe I am. Maybe we are.
Yeah, we should do a expose on think tanks sometime. There's so many, like, like the Club of Rome and I think the Jason Society.
Well, there might be an AI taking everything we're saying and feeding it into a system.
Yeah. Could be an AI fucking think tank.
What this definitely is proof of, like if we are in that socialist communist society where like we're given our credits to survive and everything's in perfect balance, this is what you and I are doing with our free time. We're still creating, you know?
Yeah.
We wouldn't be lazy. I think it's possible.
Yeah.
So
too.
On that very happy note, we're over the 3-hour mark. Another long one. All
We
right.
did it.
Thank you everyone for tuning in.
All right. We'll catch you next time on the Conspiracy Wars.
Bye everybody.